Chapter 1910. Although Lin Hanqing felt that this guess of his was inconceivable and unbelievable, if it wasn't so, then it was simply impossible to explain everything that had happened to Jiang Tian. Mr. Jiang is already at the peak of the nascent soul realm. I'm afraid he's not far from becoming a soul formation cultivator. He's already able to kill a soul formation cultivator as a nascent soul realm cultivator. If he becomes a soul formation cultivator, he'll be able to defeat a void return saint. By then, he won't be able to dominate the Eastern Empire. He'll be a peerless giant in the entire saint origin world. Lin Hanqing's body trembled as he thought of this. He was both terrified and overjoyed. The power of a void return saint. There weren't many of them even in the superior holy grounds and holy sects. He could totally surpass this continent and be famous in the Star Ocean. But he's the foreign elder of the Lin family. What do I have to be afraid of? I can even sit on the throne of the Dongfang family, let alone the Marquis of Purple Robe. Jiang Siqing, you're indeed powerful. But you've underestimated my demonic saber and the power of a peak soul formation cultivator. Sir God Chi Ling shouted, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He held the heavenly punishment demonic saber in his hand and slashed in the void, leaving many black saber marks. Those saber marks twisted and spun. They didn't disappear. Instead, they gave off an evil light as if they were real. Demonic chi intertwined and formed a creepy net. It was indeed made of divine demon blood steel, and it was full of strange power. Clang. The power of the punch hit the demonic chi saber net in an instant. Under the invincible chaotic fist force, the demonic chi saber net couldn't withstand a single blow. It was as fragile as silk and disappeared instantly. How is this possible? Sir God Chi Ling couldn't believe it. He roared and held his saber with both hands. With the original form of the demon saber, he slashed at the chaotic fist force. But it didn't stop the chaotic fist force at all. The next moment, under countless gazes of disbelief, Sir God Chi Ling couldn't take it anymore. He spat out blood and retreated. Then he was punched into Zhuowang Peak. There was another earthquake and the mountain shook. He broke through a few mountain peaks and there were mushroom clouds that looked like nuclear explosions. He only stopped when he was 100 miles away. He lost just like that? He's one of the guardians of the Myriad Monsters Palace, Sir God Chi Ling. Yeah, how is that possible? At this moment, many demons were in disbelief. They felt as if their world was collapsing. The 4 grand guardians of the pantheon of demons were invincible enough to suppress the feudal lords of the Imperium. They were only second to the demon emperor. But he couldn't even block Jiang Tian's punch? And it was under the premise of using the supreme devil blade. This is too weak. Congratulations, Marquis. With such a powerful backer, our Eastern Empire is going to have a new master. Zhang Linfeng beamed with joy and congratulated Lin Hanqing like a servant. Nonsense. Do you want to lose your head? Lin Hanqing's expression changed drastically upon hearing this. He flung his sleeves and reprimanded sternly, "How can the Eastern Empire change its master? That would forever belong to the Eastern Imperial family. With a peerless scholar like Mr. Jiang protecting him, His Majesty's throne will be even more stable." Yes, I was muddle-headed. What Master Ho said made sense. Mr. Jiang is like a pillar of the nation. With Mr. Jiang around, the Eastern Empire will be safe. Zhang Linfeng hurriedly bowed and admitted his mistake. But in his heart he didn't think so. The tree wants to be quiet, but the wind won't stop. It's not that the Emperor won't mess with you just because you're loyal. When he used you to fight Marquis Zishan, you were naturally in high demand. However, would Crown Prince Dongfang Ding sit by and do nothing about Lin Yang and Fang Goyu's marriage? You're so close to the second prince. Would he raise a tiger? The day you kill the Purple Marquis will be the day you, Lin Hanqing, meet your end. At that time, you'll have to rebel. Boom. At this time, the earth exploded and the mountain collapsed. Sir God Chi Ling broke out of the mountain with his saber. He was also in a mess. The wide sleeves of his robe were torn and tattered, revealing the armor that was shining with a metallic luster and covered with scales. If it weren't for this mysterious armor, he would have been smashed into meat paste by Jiang Tian. Jiang Xiqing, how dare you hurt me? I'll fight you to the death. Sir God Qiling looked around and saw that there were countless casualties and he was in such a miserable state. He roared furiously and his voice was filled with endless viciousness and murderous intent. His aura surged and he suddenly broke through the middle stage of soul formation and entered the late stage of soul formation, reaching the peak. Everyone thought. There seemed to be a fiend sun in the sky, which was filled with endless oppression and intimidation. Again, Jiang Tian didn't dare to use the sky-crushing sword and the chaotic source cauldron. The immortal emperor had infused them with the dharma power of the deity realm. Although they were powerful, they would be exposed instantly. So, he shouted and raised his hand to summon a mountain. He picked up the mountain and threw it at Sir God Qiling. At that very moment, Sir God Qiling had truly displayed the terrifying cultivation of a peak of divine transformation realm. The demon saber in his hand moved freely and the saber light was sharp. It tore the sky apart. When he swung his saber, there was a pitch-black demon aura. It actually shattered the 10,000 zhang tall mountain that Jiang Tian had thrown out. Boom boom boom. Jiang Tian continuously used his dharma power to summon 7 to 8 mountains, but they were all shattered by Sir God Qiling's saber. At this moment, Jiang Tian also felt irritated and depressed in his heart. If he were to use his most powerful dharma treasures, the sky-crushing sword and the chaotic source cauldron, Sir God Qiling definitely wouldn't be able to take one blow from him. But then, he didn't know about the immortal emperor's plan and he was on guard. To avoid being noticed, he could only give up his dharma treasures and fight with his dharma power. Clang clang clang. Jiang Tian either summoned mountains or blocked the fiend's saber with his bare hands. In a split second, he exchanged blows with Sir God Qiling several times. The ground sank, the mountains and rivers collapsed, and the sky seemed to be torn apart. He wasn't weaker. However, there was a red mark on his right hand. The fiend aura principle was like maggots that invaded his body, and he used the vermilion bird divine law to burn it. Ignorant kid, you overestimate yourself. You are so arrogant that you blocked my fiend's saber with your bare hands. You don't know that this saber was refined by a void return sage of the monster clan. Not many people in the entire empire or even the entire continent can match it. I will definitely kill you. Sir God Qiling laughed complacently. 3 punches. I will kill you. Although the fiend aura principle had been wiped out, Jiang Tian was still furious. He gave up on the mountains and stretched out his fists. He was like a crane dancing in the sky, a dragon coiling around a pillar, a bow full of strings and a blooming lotus. The aura of chaos was either dim or bright. It burst out from Jiang Tian's fists and broke the void. It collided with Sir God Qiling's fiend's saber. Bam! Sir God Qiling was forced to retreat again. He looked at Jiang Tian's hands in shock. When he saw that Jiang Tian was unharmed after blocking the heavenly punishment demonic exterminating saber, he couldn't help but exclaim, "What kind of punching skill is this? How can you block my saber with your body? You don't deserve to know." Jiang Tian's purple eyes were filled with murderous intent. Chapter 1911. The Second Punch. Jiang Tian broke the air with his fists and countless golden rings appeared. Jiang Tian had pushed the Eternal Universe Divine Fist, the most powerful fist art of the Hengyu Celestial Sect. That was the fist art that the Hengyu Celestial Sect relied on to dominate the universe. Jiang Tian was only able to show a bit of its power after reaching the peak of the nascent soul level, but it was still extremely terrifying. Boom! At that moment, the Dharma laws and Daos in the world let out a cry under Jiang Tian's golden rings. The air was cracked by Jiang Tian's fists. Divine Lord Qiling wasn't as powerful as Jiang Tian to begin with, so he couldn't withstand the Eternal Universe Divine Fist either. Boom boom boom. After a few punches, even the black blade of the fiend blade let out a buzzing sound, as if it couldn't withstand Jiang Tian's fists and its artifact spirit wanted to run away. Impossible! How can your fists be harder than my blade? Divine Lord Qiling couldn't imagine it. The fiend blade was said to be able to kill soul formation cultivators and injure saints. Had that guy's body already reached the level of a void returned saint? If so, Jiang Xiqing should have crushed all living beings and defeated thousands of enemies. She should have stood at the top of this continent and looked down on thousands of races. Why was she still fighting with them? She was a true dragon, but she was living in the small quagmire of the Eastern Empire and living in Father Lin. Was there something wrong with her? Boom! Jiang Tian's fist punched out. It was like an antelope hanging its horn, untraceable. From an inconceivable angle, it brought with it boundless power to smash apart the demonic blade, and a fist smashed into his chest. Poof! Even though Divine Lord Qi Ling was powerful, his body was much weaker. He was immediately knocked away by Jiang Tian and he spurted out a mouthful of blood. Many of his ribs were broken. If it weren't for the scale armor on his body, he would have exploded on the spot. However, Divine Lord Qi Ling laughed smugly and grunted. You want to kill me with 3 punches? What are you bragging about? Are you going to kill me? Next, I can kill you with a raise of my hand. Your life is in my hands. Jiang Tian stepped into the air and retreated 10 li. He placed his hands behind his back and said with a cold grin, Do you know what this punch is called? What? Eternal Universe Chaos, Fist of Time, Impermanence. Jiang Tian said indifferently. What? Fist of Time? Qi Ling was stunned and confused. Time was formless. Time flowed between heaven and earth like water. It annihilated Buddhas, immortals and gods, extinguished stars, and bid farewell to the universe. How many powerful figures were there? How many things seemed to be eternal? In the end, they were defeated by time and disappeared into the illusory river of time. Sir God Qi Ling saw the sparkling waves. He only had time to retreat 3 meters before he was swallowed by time. Everything in heaven and earth, stars, universe, Taoist skills, martial arts, and everything in the world were born because of fate and changed because of fate. If it couldn't be eternal, it would be destroyed in the end. It was the impermanence of the world, the real immutable state. Stars would turn into black holes and the black holes would be destroyed along with the universe. The universe was boundless. If one didn't master the mystery of the high-level void and relied on speed, even if one was a deity, a Buddha, an immortal, or a saint, one wouldn't be able to cross the universe. Even if he spent his entire life, he would never be able to cross it. However, even such a universe could not escape impermanence. That was the 8th move of Eternal Universe Punch. Impermanence. Without a sound or breath. The passing of time and the impermanence of time met and the surroundings seemed to be frozen. Sir God Qi Ling could only see pictures that appeared and disappeared strangely. Then, his senses seemed to have been lost. 3,000 years ago, the Eastern Empire had been established. However, it was ruled by the ancestor of the royal family, Dong Fang Run. At that time, the demons were in chaos. Demon aura was everywhere and many demonic beasts were stirring up trouble everywhere. At that time, the sects, dukes, and the royal family stood side by side. The sects were high and mighty. The cultivators in the sects were like immortals who lived outside the world. They didn't listen to the orders of the empire. Dong Fang Run united the cultivators of the sects, dukes, and heroes to kill the demonic beasts. For a time, the demons were defeated and expelled. Their territories were occupied. They were in a precarious situation and had to flee for their lives. It was said that there was a mysterious passage in the critical canyon that connected the demon realm and the saint origin world. Demons and demons often appeared there. Therefore, the royal family, dukes, and sects wouldn't easily touch this place. Under a few strange trees that were polluted by demon aura, a young black Qilin beast was sleeping soundly. It was the size of a small pig. Suddenly, it stood up and looked around in confusion. A few thoughts appeared in its mind. Ling, don't be afraid. We have escaped to the critical canyon. A female Qilin that had yet to take human form but had a gold core cultivation base was covered in scars. Her scales had fallen off, and her eyes revealed a human-like benevolent light. She gently licked the young Qilin, and it was a beautiful scene of a mother licking her calf. Mother. The young Qilin was shocked. Many memories came back. He was the divine transformation realm monarch Qilin, one of the 4 guardians of the demon emperor and a giant of the myriad demons palace. Under the order of the Demon Emperor, he cooperated with the Marquis of Purple Robe, killed Lin Hanqing, and overturned the Eastern royal family. Unexpectedly, he met Jiang Siqing and was punched by her. How did he appear here? Did he go back 3,000 years? Did he fall into the memory illusion, or did he go back to the past and start all over again? The young monarch Qilin calmed himself down. He found that he had nothing except memories and a shrewd state of mind. He didn't have the cultivation that he was proud of. He also didn't have the spiritual cultivation that he had tempered thousands of times. Even his spirit couldn't penetrate the primal aperture at mid-brows. How could his hallucination be so realistic? Or was he really reborn? The young Qilin frowned. His last impression was that he used the Devil Blade to fight against Jiang Siqing's Time Fist. According to Jiang Siqing's words, was he really sent back to the past and became reborn, as the storyteller said? If he were to start all over again, he would definitely do better than before. At least he wouldn't be walking on the edge of a cliff, barely holding on by relying on the Demon Emperor and vaguely seeing the dawn of overthrowing the Eastern royal family. It's possible to make someone go back to the past temporarily. But to make someone really reborn in the past and rewrite history, it's really unimaginable. At the very least, it has to be a powerful figure in the Nine Heavens celestial world who is proficient in time techniques, right? Jiang Siqing, an overseas rogue cultivator who doesn't even have a doctrine artifact, is so powerful? The more the young monarch Qilin thought, the more confused he became. However, he quickly sorted out his thoughts. 100 miles away from here, there's the corpse of the unparalleled Demon Emperor. Beside it, there's the Devil Blade of Heavenly Punishment and the Supreme Demon Cultivation Technique. In my previous life, I got it by chance 100 years later. In this life, I'll go to the corpse to get the technique and the Devil Blade. In this life, I'll cultivate 100 years earlier. With the foresight of my rebirth, I'll definitely be able to reach the peak of soul formation or even void return and become a saint within 1,000 years. I can even suppress the Demon Emperor Han Guang. Humph, the Eastern Empire will be even more vulnerable. My father's death can be avenged, and my imperial ambitions can be accomplished. Mother, protect me. I know a place with treasures. Sir God Qiling was still resolute. Thinking about that, he spoke in human language and immediately identified the direction. Then he ran far away with his 4 short legs. Suddenly his vision changed and he saw a shocking scene. The water rippled in front of him and a shimmering passage was formed as if the door of time had been opened. A middle-aged cultivator with deep facial features and cold eyes walked out of the passage with his hands behind his back. His hair was white and his hands were behind his back. He seemed to have traveled through 3,000 years. Jiang Siqing. Chapter 1912. Sir God Qiling seemed to have understood something. He was so frightened that the scales on his body were quivering and making rustling noises. Spare me this time. I am willing to surrender. Sir God Qiling went back to 3,000 years ago. When he was young, he had lost all his cultivation. When he faced Jiang Tian, who was at his peak, he couldn't resist and could only surrender. It's too late. Jiang Tian looked calm and pointed with his finger. Bang! Sir God Qiling's body exploded and flesh rained down. Only an extremely weak remnant soul was left and it floated in the air, disintegrating into nothingness. No matter how Sir God Qiling's mother cried and attacked him crazily, Jiang Tian's eyes were emotionless. It was as though he was high up in the sky. He captured Sir God Qiling's soul casually. Then he moved his consciousness and found the location of demon doctrine. He extended his hand and grabbed it. Then, without saying anything, he turned around and entered the gate of time. What kind of divine power is this? He turned Sir God Qiling into his original form and even made him smaller? It's as though time is flowing backward. Could it be related to the rule of time? Lin Hanqing and Zhang Linfeng, who were in Thousand Lotuses, were astonished and dumbfounded. From their point of view, after Jiang Tian had hit Sir God Qiling, although he was seriously injured, it was definitely not fatal. Hence, there was still a chance for him to turn the tables. Then a passageway that looked like water ripples formed abruptly. The passageway was spinning and the walls were flowing like clear spring water. At the same time, it was as though time was spinning unpredictably. In the passageway, Sir God Qiling's tall body kept shrinking. His Taoist robe, armor, and the magic weapons that he wore scattered in all directions. The scene behind him also changed rapidly. Then, he turned from a human into his original form of a Qilin. The Qilin kept shrinking and in the end, he turned into a young Qilin. Then the scene stabilized. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. However, the two of them felt that the growth of a civilization, the cycle of the sun and the moon, the birth and death of the void, and even the destruction of the universe were all completed in the blink of an eye. After that, they saw Jiang Tian step into the tunnel, and he pointed with his finger calmly. Then, the young Sir God Qiling exploded. When Jiang Tian exited the passage of time, he waved his hand and the 1,000 lotus flower dispersed. It turned into gunmetal celestial law and surged into Jiang Tian's body. Only then did the two of them regain their senses and walked behind Jiang Tian while trembling. "Mr. Qin, your punch just now," Lin Hanqing asked with trepidation. Impermanence is a great divine ability that involves the incomparably profound laws of time. Even though I'm only at the nascent soul stage and can't control the laws of time, as long as I can simulate a sliver of it, I'll be able to reverse the flow of time by 3,000 years. Although it's just a few flicks of the fingers, it's enough to kill him. At this moment, all the demons had retreated. The area within 100 miles around the Messi's Wang Peak was dead silent. Jiang Tian had returned to his normal calm state. His tone was calm and indifferent. But in the ears of Lin Hanqing and Li Qie, it was like thunder ringing in their ears. They were scared out of their wits and couldn't believe it. Time was the supreme law and grand Tao. Even if a deity went through the tribulation and ascended to heaven to become a real deity, he might not be able to control it. And yet, Jiang Tian was only at the nascent soul stage, but he had already touched it. That was unbelievable. It felt as if a 3-year-old had solved a math problem that had troubled humans for 10,000 years. That's unbelievable. If 3,000 years of time were cut off, wouldn't a soul formation grand cultivator in the prime of his life become old and dying instantly? He can kill him with one slash. That's terrifying. I'm afraid he's really the reincarnation of a deity in heaven. He can control such a grand divine power that involves the mysteries of time. At that moment, Jiang Tian's image suddenly changed in the eyes of Lin Hanqing and Qin Haodong. It was as if he was a deity who stood above the 9 heavens and looked down on all the worlds, which made them tremble and admire him. "Let's go." Jiang Tian flicked the demon blade of heaven and earth with a hint of relief in his eyes. Although the blade couldn't be compared with the heavenly sword tripod, it was still a powerful Taoist artifact. He was at the nascent soul stage now, so it was quite convenient for him to use it. The point was that it didn't contain the deity Qi of the Immortal Lord, so he didn't have to worry about the Immortal Lord noticing it. "Mr. Jiang, where are we going?" Zhang Linfeng asked respectfully while trembling with fear. "To the Black Stone Forest, of course, to meet with the Lin family." "What about Miss Lin Dyer and the ancestral patriarch of the Lin family?" Zhang Linfeng worriedly said. Right now, he was completely subdued by Jiang Tian and became a witness. Naturally, he had to think about Jiang Tian and Lin Hanqing. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep his life. "Don't worry. Nothing will happen. If nothing unexpected happens, it will be over soon. However, I hope that the past me won't run amok and tarnish my name." Jiang Tian's divine intent sensed the two avatars and leisurely said, "The wide sea allows the fish to jump. The high sky allows the birds to fly. Without the real body and Tao me to suppress, your father is having a great time." Whoosh whoosh. The past me Jiang Tian laughed and broke through space. One step was 1,000 miles. Like the wind and lightning, he quickly crossed half of the kingdom and arrived at the Eastern Gorge territory. He was getting closer and closer to the 100 Flowers Peak, the evil-infested ridge, and the Grand Canyon. With the past me Jiang Tian's journey, there were more and more different types of demonic beasts. These demonic beasts were different from the demonic beasts in other places. They were filled with demonic aura and were ferocious. They could be called quasi-demonic beasts or ferocious beasts. Their bodies were covered with black scales. Their mouths spewed out demonic flames, poisonous gas, and black water. They were like demonic gods from hell. When they attacked, demonic and demonic auras intertwined and surged. This demonic aura could even contaminate the magic power of cultivators. The entire Duke of Eastern Gorge's territory was a grand city that spanned across the land. It was reinforced and protected by countless powerful array formations, making it incomparably sturdy. It was like a giant city of steel, firmly keeping these vicious beasts at bay and protecting mortals and cultivators. The Grand Canyon was originally connected to the Devil World's fragment. That generation of demonic beasts was contaminated by demonic aura. Their potential was stimulated and they were the strongest. Their habits were also the most ferocious. The past me Jiang Tian had the same memories as the real body. He was very clear about these things. The real Devil World was incomparably vast. It was even vaster than the Central Star River. Its diameter was calculated in terms of 100,000 light-years. A single mountain was tens of thousands of kilometers high. If the Devil World was connected to the Saint Origin World, the Saint Origin World would be immediately devoured by a terrifying force. Jiang Tian had entered the Grand Canyon several times in his previous life. He had discovered that the reason for the eruption of demonic aura was a fragment of the Devil World that had fallen into the canyon. Bang! Jiang Tian's hair fluttered in the wind like weeds. He clenched his hand and threw a punch. It was fierce and fierce. That punch was unstoppable. It was like a meteorite hitting the ground. It directly smashed a nascent soul-level ferocious beast that was 1,000 feet tall and covered in scales into a rain of flesh. This is awesome! The past me Jiang Tian roared to the sky. His eyes were filled with bloodthirsty and frenzied murderous intent. He was like a demon lord, venting the evil and murderous thoughts in his heart. He was unstoppable and indomitable. Swish! He swept across the world and broke the world with his fist. His body flashed and he flashed 1,000 miles away like a human-shaped fighter jet. Chapter 1913. Jiang Tian continued his journey. The further east he went, the closer he got to the evil-infested ridge and the critical canyon, the more powerful the beasts he encountered. In the end, he even met a half-step divine transformation serpent that was at least 1,000 meters long. It was like a small mountain that floated in the air. From head to tail, it was covered in streamlined scales that flashed with a metallic luster. Its claws were sharp and its eyes were filled with a crimson light. It was incomparably bloody and ferocious. When they met Jiang Tian, it was devouring a small group of cultivators. This group of cultivators was made up of 7 or 8 people. They were all nascent soul cultivators. Their clothing was completely different from the southern border. They were clearly natives of the Eastern Gorge public land. They were probably trying to complete a mission or to train their cultivation, so they went out of the city to hunt beasts. However, they didn't expect to be caught by this half-step divine transformation serpent. They simply couldn't resist and killed one person with one claw. It tore them apart and swallowed them into its mouth. Such a big one, I'm going to be happy again. Jiang Tian's eyes shot out a ferocious light. His clothes were tattered like a madman as his body directly flashed over. He punched out and a bright golden light gathered in his fist like a small sun in the sky. It was incomparably bright. The serpent was extremely cunning and had already noticed Jiang Tian. Its body suddenly flashed. Although its body was huge, it was extremely agile, so Jiang Tian only focused on its tail. Boom! Jiang Tian's fist imprinted a deep bloody hole on the tail. The serpent's ferocious nature erupted. It let out an angry roar and turned its head. It opened its sharp dragon mouth and ferocious claws and attacked Jiang Tian. Suddenly, a ray of divine light came from the distance at an extremely fast speed. Within the divine light, there was a peerless heavenly woman. Her figure was tall and graceful with a peerless charm. Her entire body was shrouded in divine light, so one couldn't see her appearance clearly. She was like a fairy. The woman raised her hand and a ray of light streaked across and circled around the serpent's neck. Poof! The serpent's head that was as big as a house was chopped off. Countless black demonic blood spurted out. At this moment, the crowd finally saw clearly that the streak of light was a saint weapon as thin as autumn water, shining with a faint light. 5,000 miles south from here, all the ferocious beasts have been cleared by me. You all should leave quickly. The mysterious woman said. Her voice was incomparably cold and pleasant to the ear, as if it came from the 9 heavens. Thank you for saving my life, fairy. The few surviving cultivators all knelt down and kowtowed before leaving in a hurry. Good weapon. Since I can't use the absolute heaven sword, I might as well kill her and take her treasure. Jiang Tian's eyes immediately widened. He first glanced at the holy weapon in this woman's hand. Then, he could not help but rub his hands together like a fly in excitement. He was the incarnation of the evil thoughts in Jiang Tian's heart. Even though his mana and skills were on par with the original body, his actions were wretched and vicious. Fairy, let's negotiate. The sacred artifact in your hand is extremely skilled in refining. I wonder if I can borrow it to study it in detail. Jiang Tian got closer. His eyes were filled with greed and his saliva was about to flow out. You want to steal my treasure? The mysterious fairy's face was covered by a veil and her expression could not be seen clearly due to the dense holy light. She only snorted coldly and her voice was as cold as an ancient glacier. You don't know what's good for you. Can't you see that I'm a half-step void return cultivator? Aren't you afraid of death? Tiski, a half-sage. Jiang Tian crossed his arms and said casually, like a street gangster or an idler in a village. He said leisurely, who are you trying to scare? I'm not afraid. It's not like I can't kill you with some underhanded methods. Come, hand over your holy weapon for me to study. I'm a playboy, the passionate prince. I naturally have tender feelings for the fairer sex. I won't kill you. Instead, I'll dote on you and cultivate together with you. We'll reach the peak of nirvana together. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Lecher, you want to die. The mysterious fairy was so angry that her body trembled slightly. She shouted coldly. Her voice was as clear and cold as jade. At the same time, a monstrous pressure was released. The holy weapon in her hand vibrated wildly with a murderous aura. Jiang Tian's words were extremely frivolous. It was as if he was molesting her. This woman's status was extremely high and her cultivation was high. How could she tolerate him? What a fierce little mare. I like it. I want to ride it. My cultivation is heaven-defying and I'm talented. I'm the reincarnation of the 9 heavens immortals. You can't kill me. Little girl, let's try cultivating together. I'll make you feel good from your hair to your toes. If you don't like it, it's not too late to kill me. I won't fight back. Jiang Tian was bold and lustful. He was not afraid at all. Instead, he winked and tempted her patiently. Fairy Qingjue, come quickly. The mighty figures of the demon clan are ferocious. We can't resist them. The mysterious fairy was about to attack Jiang Tian when a scream came from the jade token at her waist. She had something important to do. In addition, Jiang Tian's words were crazy. She thought that this person was probably crazy. Why should she lower herself to his level and delay the rescue of Li Yichen and Linda? I don't have any skills to deal with you, but I'll make you suffer a little. The fairy cast a space-shifting talisman and sent Jiang Tian to a monster's lair thousands of miles away. Then she left quickly. Fairy Qingjue? The 9 mysteries sex holy maiden? So it's her. In my previous life, she was high and mighty. I couldn't covet her. If I don't eat you up today, I'll have lived another life in vain. Jiang Tian struck out with his fists and feet, quickly crippling these fierce beasts, and stepped out of the cave covered in blood. Shaking his clothes, his eyes flashed with a trace of wretchedness and greed. Stepping into the air, he chased after the woman, apparently forgetting that he was going to rescue Lin Dai. 100 Flowers Peak. Originally, the mountains were beautiful. Springs gurgled, waterfalls cascading down like waterfalls, fragrant grass, and hundreds of flowers bloomed. Throughout the year, the sun was warm and the wind was warm. It was like spring all year round. However, at this moment, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Demonic wind blew. Sometimes, there were flashes of lightning, thunder, and heavy rain. Sometimes there was a snowstorm. On the ground, corpses were strewn everywhere. Blood and flesh were badly mangled and bones were piled up. From time to time, colorful lightning flashed. That was because the fragments of the Dharma laws collided in the air. It was a mess like hell. Several divine lords of the soul formation stage and hundreds of nascent soul stage heavenly lords were fighting crazily. Sword chi was everywhere, the Dharma laws were surging, and the atmosphere was murderous. The beautiful mountains had already collapsed into rubble. The bottom of the valley had risen high and the terrain had changed drastically. On a mountain 100 miles to the east of Hundred Flowers Peak, there were hundreds of masters standing proudly. They were watching the battle closely. They were all wearing uniforms and seemed to be the subordinates of the Duke of Eastern Canyon. Among them, there were 5 divine lords. Each of them was surrounded by the Dharma laws and the Great Tao. Even the weakest of them was at the peak of the nascent soul stage. Each of them had an extraordinary temperament and profound cultivation. Duke of Eastern Canyon, it seems like the demon race's grand masters of the Myriad Demons Palace are fighting with the 9 Mysteries sect. The Myriad Demons Palace is the most evil force of the demon race in the Empire. The Empire views them as a mortal enemy and they are fighting in the territory of the Duke. Should we help the 9 Mysteries sect to eliminate the Myriad Demons Palace? A middle-aged divine lord looked at an old man riding on a nascent soul stage flood dragon and asked respectfully. This middle-aged divine lord was handsome and elegant. He was at the late stage of the soul formation stage and was one of the 4 honorable guests of the Duke of Eastern Canyon. He cultivated the Dharma laws and the great Tao of painting. His name was Dan Qing Sheng. The brush in his hand was able to create things out of thin air. He was one of the top 20 masters in the Empire. Brother Dan Qing, do you think that the 9 Mysteries sect is not the mortal enemy of the Empire? The Duke of Eastern Canyon was at the peak of the soul formation stage. He was tall and muscular and his back was straight. He was vigorous and vigorous. His hair was white and shiny, but his face was ruddy and there was not a single wrinkle on his skin. He looked like a newborn baby. His eyes were as bright as lightning, giving people a sense of wisdom and sharpness. He was indeed worthy of being one of the 4 dukes of the Empire. Chapter 1914. Dan Qing, don't worry. Their sects are powerful and they can steal resources from the Empire as they please. They can even manipulate the feudal lords and ignore the imperial power. It's a dogfight between them and the pantheon of demons. Let's just watch from the sidelines and reap the benefits. The one who spoke was another guest elder of the dragon family, Bald Penwang. His appearance was aged and he had a red, windy nose. His green clothes were in tatters, greasy and dirty, and he carried a large brush that was like a mop on his shoulder. He held a red-skinned wine gourd in his hand, and he occasionally took a sip while speaking with drunken eyes. Who do you think will win? Another middle-aged divine lord who was dressed like a scholar said coldly. The scholar was bald and his face was thin. His eyebrows were slightly furrowed as if he was always thinking. But his eyes were as calm as an ancient well. It seemed that even the collapse of the world couldn't move him at all. His name was Stone Fozy and he was an expert in chess. He was also one of the 4 vassals under the Duke of Eastern Gorge. Through chess, he had comprehended the heavenly Tao and the art of formations. Not only was he one of the 4 vassals, but he was also one of the Duke of Eastern Gorge's advisors. I think the 9 Mystery sect is better. Didn't you see that the saintess of the 9 Mystery sect, Fairy Qingjue, is here? The last guest elder, Huang Zhonggong, said with a smile. He was a monk in a loose robe with a scar on his head. There were golden bells and gyukins of different sizes floating in front of him. They made waves of vibrating sound waves that disturbed the world. The 4 guest elders were the most powerful assistants of the Duke of the Eastern Canyon. They were good at music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. They were also known as the 4 greats of the Eastern Canyon. Everyone was a bit scared after hearing that. They looked at a woman who was standing in the air outside of the battle on 100 Flowers Peak. This woman wore a moon-white robe that fluttered in the wind. She had a peerlessly beautiful appearance and a graceful bearing. Her entire body was enveloped in strands of divine radiance, and she gave off an ethereal and ethereal feeling. She was like a celestial maiden from the 9 heavens. At the same time, 3 soul formation grand cultivators of the demon race had already taken Lynn Dyer and a handsome young man in the uniform of the 9 Mysteries sect hostage. They were leading hundreds of nascent soul realm demons to break through the dimension and rush out. On the outside, there were 4 divine transformation stage elders and hall masters of the 9 Mysteries sect, along with hundreds of nascent soul stage cultivators. They coordinated with each other and surrounded Lynn Dyer and the young man like an iron bucket. From time to time, they would attack madly in an attempt to intercept and save Lynn Dyer and the young man who were being held hostage. Both sides soared into the sky and burrowed into the ground, charging left and right. You charge, I block. They fought fiercely. They were evenly matched and were locked in battle. On the other hand, the saintess of the 9 Mysteries sect, Fairy Qingjue, was already at the half-step void return level and was known as a half-sage. She was the most powerful of them all. She stayed at the outermost perimeter and did not attack at all. However, when she attacked occasionally, a ray of light would flash by and easily force back the demon race grand cultivators who were about to escape. She would also kill nascent soul stage demons. Her attacks were precise and fierce, and no one could withstand her attacks. The saintess of the 9 Mysteries sect, Fairy Qingjue, is quite powerful. She is indeed a genius saintess of a famous sect. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Even the Duke of Eastern Gorge could not help but exclaim in admiration. There was also a hint of fear in his eyes. Her looks are unparalleled and her talents are extraordinary. She is indeed a peerless beauty. Sigh, if I can win her favor, even if I marry into her family, I will have to work 1,000 years less. From now on, I don't need to cultivate anymore. No one will dare to provoke me. Some of the disciples of the Duke of Eastern Gorge and some young cultivators who did not have a Tao companion were tempted. Of course, they could only be tempted. This was just an unrealistic fantasy. The 9 Mysteries sect was one of the top 10 divine sects on the continent. It was one of the top forces on the continent. Its status was extremely high and its power was terrifying. It was high and mighty, looking down on thousands of sects and suppressing many countries. Even the emperor of a country or the zongzi of a sect was not worthy of her, let alone the disciples of feudal families and nascent soul stage cultivators. The saintess, Qingjue, was not only talented, powerful, and peerless. She was also extremely noble. She was the daughter of the sect leader of the 9 Mysteries sect. When the sect leader of the 9 Mysteries sect was in seclusion, the saintess, Qingjue, was in charge of all internal and external affairs of the sect. She was equivalent to the second person in the 9 Mysteries sect, the spokesperson of the sect leader. In these holy lands, not only the children of the sect leader could be called the saintess. They had to reach the half-saint realm to be called the holy son or saintess. Otherwise, they could only be called zongzi. People like the saintess, Qingjue, were rare even among the descendants of holy lands and divine sects. Isn't Li Yichen the eldest disciple of the 9 Mysteries sect? He has a chance to inherit the orthodoxy in the future. How could he be captured by the demon clan with such quality? Suddenly, the bald pen old man laughed mockingly. The young man in the uniform robe was the eldest disciple of the 9 Mysteries sect, Li Yichen. In the past, this young man was also known as a genius of the continent. He was also handsome and elegant, and who knew how many female cultivators were infatuated with him, as if he was their idol. However, at this moment he was extremely embarrassed. He was beaten until he was covered in blood. His hair was disheveled, and his nascent soul was restrained. He was like a dead fish puppet. He could not use any of his unique skills. He was even worse than a mortal. As for Lynn Dyer, she was even more miserable. Her clothes were tattered, revealing her delicate skin. Her face was covered in dust, and her tears and blood were intertwined. She was terrified. She did not have the elegant demeanor of a feudal lady. However, the Duke of Eastern Gorge and the 4 foreign dignitaries were the top figures in the empire. They did not even look at her. They did not even bother to ridicule her. Li Yichen was able to reach the half-step divine transformation realm at the age of 30. He is naturally a genius. Rumor had it that Fairy Qingjue had personally imparted his cultivation to him. Otherwise, why would Saintess Qingjue save him at all costs? However, he is a genius in the future, not in the present. Right now, he is only a half-step divine transformation realm cultivator. How can he be the opponent of the demon clan? The Duke of Eastern Gorge shook his head and sighed. Lin Dyer and Li Chen are so reckless. Don't they know that the demon clan is dangerous? Don't they know that although the 100 Flowers Peak is beautiful, it is not far from the demon clan's base camp, the critical canyon and the evil-infested ridge? Aren't they sending themselves to death? Dan Qingsheng sighed and said, there was no problem for commoners to visit the 100 Flowers Peak. In the past, the demon clan did not stir up trouble. If the descendants of the feudal lords came, it would be dangerous. This was because the myriad demon palace only attacked the feudal lords. They would even distribute the wealth they obtained from the feudal lords to the poor commoners. This was a strategy for them to unite the majority. Most of the time, the commoners did not hate them. Lin Dyer is indeed too stupid. Bald Bai Weng also sneered. The imperial family strictly forbids the sects from coming into contact with the feudal lords. They view these feudal lords as their mortal enemies. Among the feudal lords, there are indeed those who have apprenticed with the sect giants. However, these are all done in secret and are extremely secretive. Only she did not hide. Together with Li Yichen, they swaggered through the streets and caused a lot of discussion in the Jianghu and the imperial court. Isn't this bringing a fatal disaster to her father? Sai, who told that Lin Hanqing to be so lucky. I don't know how, but he got the mysterious guest Jiang Xiqing to help him. The Eastern Gorge Duke said with envy, this Mr. Jiang is amazing. He cured the little princess's illness and is very close to the second prince. Without the little princess and the second prince's protection, plus the need to use Lin Hanqing to suppress the Purple Marquis, I'm afraid that with Eastern Lu's suspicious personality, Lin Hanqing would have been killed long ago. Chapter 1915. As for his beloved daughter, Long Jushue, he didn't even mention the fact that she had been humiliated by Jiang Tian. This showed his magnanimity and extraordinary bearing. He was indeed worthy of being a peerless tyrant whose name shook the entire country and who could wrestle with Fang Jinlong. At this moment, the situation changed again. Stop! At this moment, the God Transformation Realm leader of the Monster Clan raised his hand and many of the Monster Clan cultivators retreated dozens of miles away from the Nine Mysteries sect. Obviously, he was trying to negotiate. The Nine Mysteries sect's cultivators also retreated after Saintess Qingju waved her hand. Sir God Nyo Ben, do you have something to say to me? Fairy Qingjue asked calmly. Indeed. The leader, Sir God Nyo Ben, was a big monster with bull bloodline. He had 4 heads and 8 arms and his body was lofty like a hill. He was as tall as a demon and he was a few hundred meters tall. It should be known that it was his real body and not an illusory Dharma form. Hence, it was definitely terrifying. The lumps on his body gave out a black iron-like luster. He shook the blood demon steel trident in his hand. The sound was like rolling thunder and it shattered the rules of the void. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Thunder dragons that were thousands of meters long flashed in the sky. What I want is Lin Daya. It has nothing to do with the Nine Mysteries sect. As long as you are willing to retreat, I am willing to let Li go. As long as Fairy Qingjue signs a spiritual contract with me. Holy Maiden! Don't leave me behind. Lin Dyer trembled in fear and tears streamed down her face. She was just an assessment disciple of the Nine Mysteries sect and had not officially joined the sect. The Nine Mysteries sect was located at the top of the Saint Origin world. They selected disciples from many empires, not just the Eastern Empire. In the Nine Mysteries sect, there were at least 8,000 disciples with aptitude like hers. It was as vast as the sea. Fairy Qingjue would most likely agree to Sir God Nyoben's condition. Dyer, don't be silly. If you insist, neither of us will be able to escape. Also, you can see that they have held us hostage for a long time but did not kill us. Obviously, they are using you as bait to lure your father to rescue us. Li Yichen immediately reprimanded. Li Yichen, I'm so devoted to you that I'm pregnant with your child. Hearing this, Lin Dai stood there in disbelief, suddenly struggling madly and wailing loudly. Li Yichen clearly meant that he did not care about his own life and only wanted to live alone. She could not believe that Li Yichen, who was elegant and aloof in the past, was so cowardly when he was about to die. Stop arguing, you two. To retreat or to fight, can you decide? You were reckless and did not have the vigilance that cultivators should have. You wandered around and did not cultivate. Instead, you were captured by strong enemies, causing the sect to lose 20 nascent soul stage cultivators and 1 divinity transformation stage cultivator. Do you know shame? Fairy Qingjue shouted softly, looking disappointed and displeased. Disciple knows his mistake. Saintess, please calm down. Lin Dyer and Li Yichen glared at each other with hatred. However, he did not dare to speak any more nonsense. Fairy Qingjue looked at Sir God Nyoben, shook the divine weapon in her hand and said loudly, although the Nine Mysteries sect is not a top sanctuary, it is still one of the top 10 holy clans. However, there is a rule in the sect that I want you to know. Fellow Taoists, we must love each other and work together. If we encounter a strong enemy, we will never abandon our comrades. We only want to live and die together. We will never abandon our comrades. We only want to live and die together. We will never abandon our comrades. We only want to live and die together. The cultivators of the Nine Mysteries sect shouted loudly. The rolling sound waves shattered the sky and stirred up the clouds. It was as if they were tigers that could swallow tens of thousands of miles away. Although they were covered in blood, their eyes were still resolute. They were ready to risk their lives. 4 divinity transformation stage cultivators and hundreds of nascent soul stage cultivators all showed their dharma forms. Flying swords, E-wood, windstorm, ice seal, thunderbolt. Many strange areas, forbidden zones, and many heavenly lords and sir gods surrounded the demon clan cultivators. Li Yichen pounded his chest and stamped his feet. He jumped up and down and begged, Master, why are you so pedantic? Do you have to keep me here? I want to go back to the sect. Lin Dyer is just the daughter of a duke. With my qualifications and identity, I can take as many as I want. Why do you care about her? Li Yichen, you are shameless. When Lin Dyer heard this, she was so depressed that she almost vomited blood. Fairy Qingjue, you have forced me to do this. If you want to fight to the death, I am prepared. Sir God Nyobai's 4 faces were furious. His 8 arms shook and his 4 mouths let out rolling thunder. He was obviously furious. As he spoke, he shook his hand and a divine weapon jar floated in front of him. He said in a low voice, This is the demon imprisoning fairy jar left behind by the demon clan great sage in ancient times. You should recognize it. The demon imprisoning fairy jar. It is one of the 4 great treasures of the myriad demons' palace. It is not inferior to the demon vanquishing blade. For the first time, a look of deep fear appeared on Fairy Qingjue's eternally unmoving face, which was like an ancient glacier. However, she returned to normal immediately and sneered, This treasure has been through a long period of time. More than half of its magic power has been wiped out by the precepts and great Taos. It is said that it no longer has the devouring function. Jiushuan Holy Lady, you are indeed knowledgeable. Among the successors of the Holy Lands and Holy Sects, other than Gu Xian, who is better than you in terms of alchemy skills, the rest are far behind you. Sir God Nyobai did not hide anything. Instead, he said with a sincere smile, Indeed. This item no longer has the devouring function, but its magic power is still there. The most important thing is, do you know what is being imprisoned in here? What a ferocious demonic creature. Fairy Qingjue frowned and looked carefully. She saw that the demon-imprisoning fairy jar was trembling and buzzing. It expanded and contracted at times as though it was about to explode. The inscribed Tao patterns and talisman arrays were sometimes bright and sometimes dim. That was because the magic power was unstable. There were also traces of dense devil chi rippling out. What is that sound? A dragon? Moreover, as a majestic voice that could not be described with words penetrated the jar, her divine sense sensed that she was trembling from the depths of her soul. The voice shook her so much that her divine sense was unsteady. Her eyes were glazed over and she had the urge to crawl on the ground. She could not care about anything else. Jishuan, Holy Lady, you are so knowledgeable. Sir God Nyobai praised and said, this is a quasi-true dragon named Decimating Abyss. It was once a half-saint. It was contaminated by devil chi in the critical canyon and wreaked havoc for an era. It devoured 800 divine transformation realm cultivators, 9,000 nascent soul realm cultivators, and billions of lives. It wreaked havoc in the entire Saint Origin world and no one could stop it. Decimating Abyss. Everyone's expression changed drastically. Even the Duke of Eastern Canyon, the 4 foreign dignitaries, and Fairy Qingjue's expression changed. Chapter 1916. This was because the Decimating Abyss was indeed a ferocious demonic beast in the Saint Origin world. However, it had been annihilated in the long river of history. 3,000 years ago, in the era when the human race and the demon race existed side by side, Qin Pei, a half-saint almighty of the demon race, joined forces with many other almighties to create the demon-imprisoning immortal jar with the help of the ancient star-swallowing stone. After 500 years of hard work, they set up 81 peerless divine formations to imprison this evil dragon. Unfortunately, Qin Pei died in the hands of the Eastern royal family. Sir God Nyoben laughed bitterly as he spoke. He looked very sad and angry. The imperial court is more dangerous than the underworld. The emperor is more vicious and cruel than a demon god. I can only feel deeply sorry for this. Fairy Qingjue laughed bitterly and stayed out of the matter. She did not comment on the conflict between the Eastern Empire and the demon race. Yes, this has nothing to do with the Nine Mysteries sect. Moreover, it has been so long. I won't talk about this anymore. Sir God Nyoben laughed and said, however, the Decimating Abyss demonic dragon was already contaminated by the demonic chi. However, the demonic chi did not destroy him. I don't know how he comprehended the Tao of coexistence with the demonic chi. In short, his body, laws, realm, and even his deity contained the demonic chi. However, the demonic chi could resist and even destroy the magical power of the demon-imprisoning fairy jar. As soon as this was said, everyone's expression changed drastically. What? Does this mean that the Decimating Abyss demonic dragon is still alive? Fairy Qingjue's heart skipped a beat. Sir God Nyoben said proudly, Fairy, if you don't believe me, I can show you. Fairy Qingjue exclaimed and reached out to stop him. However, Sir God Nyoben had already moved. He grabbed the lid of the jar with his right hand and his face turned red. It seemed that he had used all his strength to move the lid a little bit. Swoosh! A claw that was covered with scales reached out from the gap. It was very small at first, like a lizard's claw. Then, it suddenly expanded and tore the space apart at a speed faster than lightning. In an instant, it had reached the head of a Nine Mysteries sect divine transformation realm elder. At this moment, the dragon claw had a radius of 10 miles. It covered the sky and the sun with demonic chi. The expression of the elder from the Nine Mysteries sect changed drastically. His divinity howled towards the heavens, emitting a strange metallic sound. His divinity was condensed from the Tao of sabers, and its outer appearance was also formed from many strange-looking divine sabers. It looked like a warrior from the future, a war god from the divine world, flickering with a metallic luster. The deity suddenly appeared and soared into the sky, turning into thousands of heavenly blades that slashed toward the dragon claw. At the same time, the dozens of Tao artifacts on his body, both for defense and offense, turned into streaks of light that soared into the sky and charged over. But all of this was useless. At that moment, it was as if the sky had collapsed and the earth had sunk. The sun and the moon were hanging upside down. Countless heavenly swords were shattered, and the gods of swords suddenly collapsed. Dozens of Tao artifacts were like a string of firecrackers that had been ignited. They exploded rapidly, and huge mushroom clouds rose in the sky. Like an eagle catching a chick, the dragon's claw easily caught the elder of the Nine Mysteries sect. The dragon's claw rapidly contracted, and the elder was pulled into the clay jar as well. "Save me!" The blood-curdling screams of the elder from the Nine Mysteries sect rang out, but the screams stopped abruptly as the devil-imprisoning immortal jar fell into a state of silence. Everyone was dumbfounded. Many elders, hall masters, and disciples of the Nine Mysteries sect were sweating profusely. "It's too powerful." Even Fairy Qingjue was frightened. When the decimating abyss demonic dragon attacked, Fairy Qingjue and the other elders had used their best skills and released their best Dharma treasures. These attacks were powerful enough to flatten mountains and penetrate the earth, but they still couldn't stop the decimating abyss demonic dragon. They didn't even manage to break the tiniest of scales. If the decimating abyss demonic dragon is really released, everyone will die. Fairy Qingjue's face was solemn, and she didn't doubt it at all. Although the demonic dragon was at the Sage-to-Be realm back then, it was obviously used and raised by Sir God Nyoben and the others. Who knew how many lords of heaven and gods it had devoured? Its cultivation level might have increased instead of decreasing. Most importantly, it had the bloodline of the real dragon, which was born with superpower and unpredictable changes. Moreover, it was tainted with demonic qi that could erase and pollute the dharma power of ordinary human cultivators, increasing its strength even more. I've read ancient records. The real dragon's bloodline has many changes. The real dragon's 9 changes is rumored to have 81 changes. It can be big or small, invisible or visible. It can fly into the sky, swim in the deep sea, hide in the abyss, and see the dragon in the field. It can summon clouds and rain, burn the sky with fire, control wind and thunder, and make sweet dew. I didn't believe it at first, but after seeing it today, the ancients didn't lie to me. Far away, the Duke of Eastern Gorge's eyes were trembling and his eyes were filled with fear. Terrifying. "It's too powerful." The Duke of Eastern Gorge and the other alien elders were worried. Sir God Nyoben had only released a crack that was as small as a finger, and the decimating abyss demonic dragon had reached out with its claws. Its speed was so fast that it was like a white steed flitting across a gap. Its movements were so smooth and natural that it was impossible to trace. Cultivators could also use their Dharma idols and supernatural powers to transform. However, they would need a cultivation technique to activate it. They would even need to form hand seals and chant incantations. The fastest way to do it was to form a technique with a single thought. However, it was impossible for someone like him to do it so instinctively and naturally. If they were to go against the decimating abyss demonic dragon, they would only end up dead. At the thought of that, many cultivators, including the Duke of Eastern Gorge, opened their forbidden zones and domains and released their Dharma treasures to protect themselves so that they wouldn't be affected in the upcoming battle. The battlefield soon fell into a deathly silence that made one's heart palpitate. Creak, creak, patter, slurp. Only the sound of teeth rubbing against bones, muscles and flesh, bone marrow, brain and blood could be heard. It made everyone's scalp go numb and their hearts almost exploded. It was obvious that the decimating abyss demonic dragon was devouring the elder. "Meet, there's some wood. He's too old." The voice of the decimating abyss demonic dragon could be heard from the crack. It was old and hoarse, as though it was the whisper of a demon from the depths of hell. It had a tinge of greed. "Nyoben, that little girl has a high cultivation level and she's smooth, tender, and moist. She must taste good. Let me out and I'll eat her for you. Senior, the Nine Mysteries sect shouldn't be offended. I'll find a few more tender ones for you to eat later." Sir God Nyoben chuckled and covered the lid completely. Only then did the terrifying voice stop. Sir God Nyoben shook his sleeves and laughed in high spirits. "Fairy Qingjue, if you don't know when to back down and insist on tangling with us, I'll really release the demonic dragon. Fairy Qingjue pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She frowned slightly as though she was thinking of a countermeasure. I imprisoned Lin Dyer just to lure an expert here and kill him together. It has nothing to do with the Nine Mysteries sect, Sir God Nyo Ben said in a muffled voice. I also know that the Nine Mysteries sect's rule is to unite as one and never abandon a comrade. I'll take a step back and make a deal. In order to lure you into the trap, we have to imprison Lin Dyer no matter what. However, she's not our target after all. As long as we kill our target, we'll immediately return this girl and Li to you. What do you think? Saintess, this is the only way. This demonic dragon is too ferocious. It can kill a divine transformation realm cultivator with a flick of its finger. If we attack by force, we'll definitely suffer great losses. I'm afraid we can only have a chance of winning if we ask the sect leader to help us. We don't have any enmity with the Myriad Demons Palace. Why do we have to make enemies? For a moment, many elders and disciples of the Nine Mysteries sect were communicating with Fairy Qingjue through consciousness transmission. Alright, I hope you'll keep your promise, Fairy Qingjue said in a low voice as she clenched her silver teeth. Suddenly, the sky fell and the earth cracked. A figure fell from the sky like a meteorite, causing the ground to collapse and the mountain peaks to sway. A voice that was as imposing as a dragon could be heard. Fairy Qingjue, I'll help you kill this demonic dragon. I wonder if you're willing to discuss the great way of dual cultivation with me and ascend to nirvana together? Chapter 1917. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. Countless gazes descended onto Jiang Tian in unison, and they were filled with disbelief as if they were looking at a madman. Who is he? How dare he provoke the abyssal demon dragon and the mighty of the Myriad Demons Palace? Dan Qingsheng looked at the figure in the billowing dust in disbelief, as if he was looking at a madman. He didn't just provoke the abyssal demon dragon and Sir God Nyo Ben. He offended the Myriad Demons Palace and Fairy Qingju. The Duke of Eastern Gorge did not know whether to laugh or cry. He seems to be just a nascent soul realm cultivator. Is he tired of living? Huang Zhonggong chuckled. The so-called discussion of the great Tao of dual cultivation and ascending to paradise together was extremely frivolous. It would be fine if you said that to an ordinary female cultivator. After all, you were a nascent soul realm heavenly lord. She could do nothing but tolerate it. But now, you were flirting with the holy maiden of the Nine Mysteries sect. In short, even if Eastern Lu was here, he would not dare to talk nonsense. Otherwise, the Nine Mysteries sect would be infuriated and the country would be destroyed. Moreover, you were just a nascent soul realm cultivator. He must be a lunatic who entered this place by mistake. Let's ignore him, Bald Bewing said with a smile. At this moment, when the smoke and dust dispersed, they could already see Jiang Tian's figure. His hair was draped over his shoulders, and a messy white beard covered his face. His clothes were ragged and dirty, and his eyes were filled with madness. He was a standard old lunatic. Lunatic, get out of here. Lin Dai was so angry that she danced and cursed. Originally, the Myriad Demons Palace wanted to lure someone over. After killing that person, they would release themselves. It was a very simple thing. Now that this lunatic had interfered, Sir God Nyo Ben and the others might really release the demon dragon. By then everyone would die. Ha, stupid human. You overestimate yourself. Sure enough, Sir God Nyo Ben was so angry that he laughed. He shouted coldly, "How dare you provoke the guardian demon dragon of the Myriad Demons Palace? You are just a nascent soul realm heavenly lord. I can kill you with a flick of my finger." This person actually destroyed the nest of the demonic beasts so quickly? And it's so fast? When Fairy Qingjue saw Jiang Tian, she was shocked again. But he immediately shook his head. This strange man did have some strength, but it was still impossible for him to defeat the demonic dragon, who was in the half-saint realm. It was like a fantasy story. However, Fairy Qingju didn't dwell on the matter. She looked at Sir God Nyo Ben and said, "He's just an irrelevant person. Sir God, Why waste your time on him? I just don't know when the target you are waiting for will arrive. 1 day for the fastest, 3 days for the slowest. Sir God Nyo Ben reigned in his anger and pondered for a while. 3 days. Fairy Qingjue thought to herself that it wasn't too long, so she could still accept it. Lin Dyer also heaved a sigh of relief. She only needed 3 days to regain her freedom. Everyone, let's take a break. Fairy Qingjue instructed. Yes, Saintus. After that, the cultivators of the 9 mysteries sect landed on the ground one after another. They swallowed elixirs and sat down cross-legged to heal their injuries. Fairy Qingjue was the only one left in the sky. This was a bitter battle, and many people were injured. It's the same for us. Sir God Nyo Ben's eyes flickered and he sent a message with his consciousness. Jiang Xiqing is unfathomable. We have to maintain our best condition and kill her in one blow. Then, the cultivators of the Myriad Demons Palace landed on the ground to take a break. Fairy Qingjue then waved her hand and set up a halo to separate the two parties. This will be the boundary of the truce. You and I are not allowed to enter each other's area and disturb each other. Otherwise, it will be considered a declaration of war. Okay. Sir God Nyo Ben nodded. Both parties stopped fighting and made peace. Within a 100-mile radius, it was quiet. The murderous and bloody aura that shrouded the 100 Flowers Peak faded instantly. Sir God Nyo Ben, didn't the decimating abyss eat the almighty of the demon clan, Qin Yuan? And even your Laozu? How did such a huge grudge become your palace protecting demon dragon? This is almost the same as acknowledging a thief as your father. I didn't expect the demon clan to be so shameless. This is ridiculous. In the silence, Jiang Tian's voice was suddenly heard again with a mocking look in his eyes. Wow, I'm so pissed off. What do you know? How can a nascent soul heavenly lord like you interfere in the affairs of the Myriad Demons Palace? Nyo Ben was simply exasperated when he heard this. His 4 faces warped ferociously at the same time while his 8 nostrils sprayed out strands of flames, cold air, azure lightning, and lightning at the same time, and they incinerated the group of mountains and froze an area of 50 kilometers. The earth quaked and the mountains shook as various phenomena appeared, and their imposing auras shook the heavens and the earth. You arrogant bastard! Kill him! Bastard! Not just him, all the cultivators of the demon race were infuriated. They all stopped treating their wounds and soared into the sky like supersonic fighters, crossing the boundary of the truce and surrounding Jiang Tian from all directions. They were all gnashing their teeth in fury, as if they could not wait to mince Jiang Tian into pieces to vent their anger. Don't expose people's shortcomings and don't hit their faces. But Jiang Tian's words were like slaps to their faces. In fact, the demon clan overlords were indeed unable to kill the decimating abyss demonic dragon after imprisoning it. They had no choice but to keep the decimating abyss demonic dragon as their weapon of mass destruction. But they had indeed forgotten their ancestors and couldn't distinguish between kindness and hatred. This crazy nascent soul heavenly lord deserves to die. Lin Dai thought angrily. However, when the cultivators of the demon clan were about to attack Jiang Tian, prepare for battle. Array! Clang, 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 clang. The cultivators of the 9 mysteries sect acted as if they were facing a great enemy. They took out their flying swords and magic treasures, and floated up into the air to form battle formations. The atmosphere became tense once again. Fairy Qingju's face was cold and her eyes were cold. She said coldly, Sir God Nyo Ben, you have crossed the line. Please return. Then, the cultivators of the Myriad Demons Palace realized that Jiang Tian was on the side of the boundary of the 9 Mysteries sect, and the cultivators of the demon clan had indeed crossed the boundary. The Myriad Demons Palace and the 9 Mysteries sect had entered the attack range of each other. Fairy, friends of the 9 Mysteries sect, don't be nervous. It's just that this crazy cultivator has messed up the situation. Listen to my command and retreat. Immortal Lord Nyo Ben laughed and ordered the cultivators of the Myriad Demons Palace to retreat while suppressing his anger towards Jiang Tian. Swoosh, swoosh. The cultivators of the Myriad Demons Palace retreated while the cultivators of the Nine Mysteries sect heaved a sigh of relief. Only then did they realize that they were sweating profusely. In an instant, the cultivators of the Nine Mysteries sect glared at Jiang Tian. It was too dangerous just now. Both sides had entered the attack range of each other. If any of the cultivators had a weak Taoist heart and attacked the enemy in a panic, it would trigger a huge battle and the casualties would be immeasurable. Bastard! Don't create any more problems. Otherwise, I'll kill you first when I regain my freedom. If you want to die, don't drag us down with you. Li Yichen shouted in exasperation. Chapter 1918. Li Yichen was almost scared to death. Originally, the Nine Mysteries sect was not targeting Lin Dyer or the Nine Mysteries sect. They were targeting someone behind Lin Dyer. However, the Nine Mysteries sect and the Myriad Demons Palace each had their own principles. In order to avoid losses, they had reached an agreement and the matter had been settled. Unexpectedly, this kid provoked Niu Ben's anger with just a few words and almost caused a fire to break out. Lin Dyer was so scared that her legs trembled and her face turned pale. She did not dare to imagine how terrifying the situation would have been if the battle had broken out, especially when Sir God Niu Ben had released the demonic dragon. Fairy Qingjue was also a little annoyed. She stared at Jiang Tian and scolded, "Fellow cultivator Feng, don't make trouble. This is not a place for you to stay. Leave quickly so as not to be implicated. Otherwise, I'll kill you." "Ha, how do you know that this is not a place for me to stay? Sir God Niu Ben has been waiting for me, Jiang Xiqing." Jiang Tian laughed and suddenly performed the creation mysterious skill. His messy hair turned into a waterfall of black hair and his messy beard fluttered in the wind. He turned into the image of Jiang Tian. His facial features were well defined and his eyes were deep and pale. His aura was vague and there were silver strands on his temples. Even though his clothes were shabby, it was still difficult to conceal his strange charm. "What? He is Jiang Xiqing." The Duke of Eastern Gorge's face froze and his eyes shone brightly. His pupils suddenly contracted to the size of a needle tip. "I heard that Jiang Xiqing is a man of strategy. He has always been careful and meticulous. How could he be so reckless?" The four foreign dignitaries of the Duke of Eastern Gorge's mansion were also puzzled and could not believe it. Isn't he courting death? If he wants to save someone, he should be well prepared. He should join forces with Fang Jinlong and other friendly dukes to crush them together or set up an ambush secretly to avoid their attacks. Now, he seems to have fallen into a trap. Shi Fuozi frowned and thought hard. He could not understand. That's right. With such a strategy, how did Lin Hanqing manage to turn the tables around? How did he manage to turn danger into safety? How did he manage to suppress the purple marquis? Dan Qingxing was also puzzled, smiling bitterly. Upon hearing these words and thinking back to Jiang Tian's actions, the Eastern Gorge Duke couldn't help but feel greatly disappointed. He said, "I originally thought that he was an extraordinary person and that I needed to rely on him. Now, it seems that the rumors about Jiang Xiqing were exaggerated." "That's right, Jiang Xiqing." Seeing that it was Jiang Xiqing, the guest of the Lin Mansion, many cultivators had different expressions on their faces. The atmosphere instantly became tense. So he changed his appearance. Lin Dyer suddenly understood, and then she was furious, gnashing her teeth, and scolding him harshly, "Bastard! I order you to step back and call my father over. Also, report this to Uncle Fang Jinlong. Just now, you repeatedly put me in danger. Could it be on purpose? If this matter is settled, I will definitely report it to my father and expel you from the family." In her opinion, Sir God Niu Ben had taken so much trouble to kidnap her with so many Sir Gods of the Monster Clan. With such great fanfare and far-reaching planning, their target must be a powerful figure like Fang Jinlong or the ancestor of the Lin family, or even an expert of the royal family. Jiang Tian was just a guest of the Lin family. How could he be worthy of Sir God Niu Ben's planning? To put it bluntly, he was not qualified. A mere guest of the Lin family dares to provoke so many Sir Gods of the Myriad Demons Palace? Are you courting death? Get out. Li Yichen also shouted. Jiang Tian paid no attention to them at all. Instead, he flew toward the group of myriad demons' palace unhurriedly. He looked at Fairy Qingjue calmly and said with a smug, hideous smile, "Fairy, I'll help you kill these powerful experts of the demon race and save your two useless disciples. Why don't you accompany me to listen to some songs and drink a few cups of fine wine? This condition is not good, right?" "Are you crazy?" Fairy Qingjue shouted angrily. Many cultivators of the Nine Mysteries sect also looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at an idiot. Oh my god! Is he really going to fight alone? The Duke of Eastern Gorge and the others almost went crazy. They were completely stunned. A nascent soul heavenly lord wanted to fight against a Sir God of the monster clan. Moreover, he had a notorious ancient demon dragon with him. Even the Holy Virgin of the Nine Mysteries sect did not dare to fight against him. Was he not courting death? So you are Jiang Xiqing. You are finally here. Come and accept your death. Sir God Niu Ben's 4 faces were filled with anger. His 4 mouths roared together and his eyes were cold and murderous. So, Sir God Niu Ben was waiting for him. Is it necessary for the myriad demons' palace to do this? Wouldn't it be better to just kill him? Why did they have to kidnap Lin Dyer and involve Li Yichen and the Nine Mysteries sect? They have suffered heavy casualties. No wonder Sir God Niu Ben is so angry. Yes, he only wanted to kill a nascent soul heavenly lord, but he ran into the Holy Virgin of the Nine Mysteries sect. He lost dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords and a divine transformation realm cultivator. How could he not be angry? At this moment, the cultivators of the Nine Mysteries sect and the Duke of Eastern Gorge's mansion were enlightened and shocked. At this moment, the gazes of all the experts gathered and landed on Jiang Tian. Their gazes were filled with pity. Li Yichen could not hide his gloating. Apparently, no one thought that Jiang Tian could be a match for Sir God Niu Ben, who had a strong body and dominated the entire Eastern Empire. Especially Li Yichen. Although Jiang Tian acted crazily, he was extremely domineering and brave. He even dared to face the myriad demons' palace. In comparison, Li Yichen, who had been captured by the myriad demons' palace and cried for his parents, was unbearable. He hoped that Jiang Tian would be killed so that he would not be so incompetent. So, he is the one they were waiting for. Lin Dyer could not believe it at first. I thought it was Uncle Fang Jinlong or my patriarch. Is he more important than Uncle Fang Jinlong or my patriarch in the eyes of the myriad demons' palace? Anyway, he is just a foreign elder in the nascent soul realm. He deserves to die. But immediately, she relaxed and gloated. She did not like Jiang Tian's personality. Besides, she did not think that Jiang Tian was valuable. He was just a nascent soul realm cultivator. So what if he died? Then, she shouted, "Jiang Xiqing, how did you offend the myriad demons' palace? You are courting death. Why don't you kneel down and admit your mistake and ask for punishment?" "Sir God Niu Ben, you have found your target. Let me go first." Li Yichen shouted directly, "I'll rather die than you. Put the green thunder talisman on them and ask them to get lost." Sir God Niu Ben said with a hideous smile, "Friends from the Nine Mysteries sect, don't interfere. Our target is not the Nine Mysteries sect. After killing this guy, you can remove the green thunder jade talisman. Let's have a taste of Jiang Xiqing's divine sense." His target was Jiang Tian. If the Nine Mysteries sect or the Duke of the Eastern Canyon attacked him, he would not be afraid of them. But with so many forces, he would not be able to defeat them. However, he had a backup plan. The Green Thunder Talisman was one of the most precious treasures of the Myriad Demon's Palace. It could explode with a thought and could easily kill an early Divine Transformation Realm cultivator. In this way, the Nine Mysteries sect would not dare to help Jiang Tian against the Myriad Demon's Palace and would be restrained by others. Lin Dyer and Li Chen felt as if they had been pardoned and ran away. Anyway, in their eyes, Jiang Tian was just an irrelevant person. They did not care if he died. When they were imprisoned by Sir God Niu Ben and the others, their lives were in danger. The feeling of being controlled was worse than death. If they did not leave now, when would they leave? Chapter 1919. Saintus, we have escaped. Let's go. Li Yichen and Lin Dai came before Fairy Qingjue and begged with a bow. Slap, slap. Fairy Qingjue raised her hand and rewarded the two of them with 2 slaps each, causing blood to spurt out from their noses. She sternly scolded, "Ignorant and brainless idiot. Do you know how much loss you have brought to the sect by going on a trip without permission? 2 elders in Divine Transformation Realm and more than 20 lords of heaven in Yuaning Realm are dead. Wait for the sect to punish you." "Yes, I know my mistake." Li Yichen's face was full of shame. He was so scared that he trembled and said yes repeatedly. "I will reflect on myself and change. I will never do it again." Although Lin Dai admitted defeat, she was not convinced. Jiang Xiqing offended the myriad monsters' palace. That was why they kidnapped us and used us as bait. Plus, Jiang Xiqing insulted you again and again. How arrogant! You should have killed Jiang Xiqing. Old Niu, you seem to be one of the 4 guardians of the myriad monsters' palace like Sir God Qiling. You have a close relationship with each other? Jiang Tian suddenly asked in a teasing tone. "But how do you know Sir God Qiling?" "No, you were attracted by Lin Dai's kidnapping and left Lin Hanqing to the Duke of Eastern Canyon's territory. You shouldn't have seen him." Sir God Nyoben was suspicious and thoughts came to his mind. "Are you here to die? You should feel honored to die in my hands." Very soon, Sir God Nyoben got rid of the distracting thoughts and looked at Jiang Tian with hatred. He was furious and his murderous intent was overwhelming. Die for you. To be honest, Sir God Qiling has been killed by me. And you can't wait to meet Sir God Qiling in hell? All right, I will fulfill your wish. Jiang Tian was the condensation of Jiang Tian's evil thoughts. He was extremely vain and arrogant. He loved to show off in front of people and flaunt his achievements. Qiling was clearly killed by Jiang Tian's original body, Jiang Tian, but Jiang Tian still put the blame on him. This is impossible. Sir God Nyoben's face changed and he couldn't believe it. At that moment, another god monarch suddenly cried out in shock. "Old bull, I don't know when Qiling's soul tablet has already extinguished. Moreover, it was extinguished an hour ago, but he actually rushed here from the southern border. This speed is too terrifying." "So strong? It can't be." He killed Sir God Qiling and traversed the entire empire in an hour. His speed is terrifying. Gasps could be heard from the audience. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Even Fairy Qingjue's peerlessly beautiful face revealed a hint of shock as her beautiful eyes widened. She couldn't do it at this speed. "That's right, I killed him. Furthermore, it only took me 1 hour to get here from the Red Rock Basin. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Am I very strong?" Jiang Tian was extremely pleased with himself. He then looked at Fairy Qingjue who was in the outer circle and said with a smile, "Saintus, since ancient times, beautiful women have always been paired with heroes. I'm that strong. In this world, only a peerless expert like me is worthy of you. Don't feel inferior. Pluck up your courage and dual cultivate with me. You're about to die and you're still in the mood to talk nonsense." Fairy Qingjue sneered and berated, "Think about how to get out of here. Piece of cake. I can kill such a small fry with a lift of my hand." Jiang Tian was still confused. He suddenly smiled and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Are you concerned about me? Do you admire me already? Damn it, I have nowhere to put my charm. It's too easy for people to fall in love with me. However, it's not because you're frivolous. It's because my charm is too strong." "Fanatic." Fletcher. Fairy Qingjue was so angry that her teeth were itching. She wished she could raise her hand and slap Jiang Tian. However, on second thought, he was about to die and she didn't care anymore. "I can't accept the title of fanatic. I'm too perfect. My only flaw is that I'm too humble." Jiang Tian said seriously, "If we become dual cultivation partners, you have to be more tolerant of this. After all, no one is perfect." "Lecture? That's even more ridiculous. Countless saintesses and fairies have pursued me, but I... Jiang Xiqing, how dare you kill my close friend? Today, not only will I tear you into pieces, I'll also kill Lin Hanqing's family. I'll also rush to your home planet, exterminate your family and destroy your home planet. Sir God Niu Ben was in tears. When he saw that Jian Wushuang only cared about teasing Fairy Qingjue and ignored his existence, he couldn't help but roar in anger. Guardian Niu Ben. There's no need for you to kill him. I don't believe that a mere nascent soul realm cultivator can kill Sir God Qiling. I'm willing to enforce the law on your behalf and kill him. At that moment, a Sir God from the monster clan, who had the bloodline of the evil wolf, stepped out from the crowd with a hideous smile. Alright, Sir God Can Lang, kill him. Sir God Niu Ben roared angrily. Although Sir God Can Lang was slightly weaker than Niu Ben and Qiling, he was one of the 10 Sir Gods in the pantheon of monsters. His body was strong and his divine powers were unpredictable. Back then, he had sneak attacked the palace in the imperial city and severely injured a few members of the royal family. Even when he was besieged by a few divine transformation realm cultivators and hundreds of nascent soul realm cultivators, he was still able to talk and escape unscathed. However, Sir God Niu Ben didn't know Jiang Tian's background and he was still worried. He raised his hand and pointed at another Sir God from the monster clan. He said coldly, Sir God Catching Moon, this guy is evil. You can join him. Yes, Protector. The moon-catching divine lord had a grotesque appearance. He had 8 thin and long arms that resembled dried branches and bamboo joints. His stomach was perfectly round, as though he was pregnant for 10 months. His entire body was covered in black fur and his face was extremely ugly. However, no one dared to belittle him. He had the bloodline of the heavenly web spider. It took him 500 years to form the monster core. It took him 1,000 years to reach the nascent soul realm and 3,000 years to become a god in the human world. His bloodline was special and he was talented. He was a kind of fierce insect that was famous in the Saint Origin world. He was an ancient mutated species that could spit out the heavenly web. The web was extremely tough and it was difficult for sharp weapons to cut it. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that even an ordinary heavenly web spider was a headache for the cultivators, let alone a divine transformation realm cultivator. He had already formed the rules of heavenly web and the great Tao. He was said to be able to catch the moon, refine stars, and break the moon. He was extremely fierce and terrifying. Kid, you deserve to die. Sir God Catching Moon turned his head and stared at Jiang Tian fiercely as he said coldly. Boom. 2 earth-shattering auras suddenly burst out and rushed toward Jiang Tian. Although the rules of Tao in the Saint Origin world were more condensed and the great Tao was as heavy as a mountain, the cultivator's power was suppressed 10 times or even 100 times. But when the 2 divine emperors attacked together, their power was still earth-shattering. 2 divine rays of light that were like flowing lights suddenly shot towards Jiang Tian. The earth quaked while the laws of the heavens and the earth were torn apart, and it erupted with waves of lightning and rumbling that caused one's ears to ring and one's heart to thump. Sir God Brutal Wolf tore the sky apart with a bronze mace. Meanwhile, the moon-capturing divine monarch flew to the sky above Jiang Tian. He waved his 8 arms and flicked them. A giant net with a radius of at least 10 miles flew towards Jiang Tian. Oh my, he's so ruthless. Is he trying to embarrass me in front of my baby Qingjue? Jiang Tian was in a hurry and he was shocked. He didn't expect this at all. However, when the 2 divine rainbows were less than a mile away from him, Sir God Niu Ben revealed a complacent and sinister smile as if he was about to take his revenge. Many cultivators of the demon clan were certain that the mission would be completed and they would be praised by Demon Emperor Han Guang. As for Fairy Qingjue, her face was filled with pity and disappointment. Clang! Jiang Tian suddenly attacked. Chapter 1920. Vanishing with Jiang Tian was simple and direct. He punched out, and the aura of primal chaos filled the area within 10 miles. He punched out boldly, and a violent wave swept out, destroying everything in its path. Eternal Universe Divine Fist, army breaking, shattering all. This fist technique was originally peerlessly ferocious, and it was bold and unstoppable. In the hands of Jiang Tian, who was filled with a ferocious and brutal aura, The might it exerted was instead even stronger than the true body. The passing Mi Jiang Tian broke a bronze mace that came from the left. The chaotic fist mark broke the space and rushed toward Sir God Immortal Wolf. As for the giant net, it was torn to shreds by the fist force. The moon-catching divine sovereign was blown into the air like a scarecrow by the wind created by the fist force. Poof! The two divine emperors of the monster clan vomited blood and were seriously injured by the passing Mi Jiang Tian. How is that possible? Sir God Nyo Ben widened his eyes in disbelief. The pantheon of monsters had carried out a thorough investigation on Jiang Tian and collected all kinds of information. They certainly knew that Jiang Tian was strong, but he was only in the nascent soul realm after all. He couldn't be stronger and was still a distance away from the real soul formation realm. Compared to the giants of the pantheon of demons, the gap between them was like night and day. They had never thought that Jiang Tian could defeat a grand divine emperor who was at a higher level. What? Lin Dyer also couldn't believe it, as if she had seen a ghost. She had never thought that Jiang Tian, a cultivator from outside the galaxy, could be so powerful. No wonder he's so arrogant and ignores everything. It turns out that he really has that ability. No wonder Sir God Nyo Ben and the others treat him as a mortal enemy. I'm afraid he's even more powerful than our ancestral patriarch, Uncle Fang Jinlong. No wonder my father thinks so highly of him and even wants me to marry him. How can Li Yichen compare to him? She suddenly came to a realization, and a faint sense of remorse gradually filled her heart. He's really a genius. He's not just a prodigy, he's a monster. Many cultivators from the Nine Mysteries sect had originally looked down on Jiang Tian, especially after Jiang Tian had repeatedly molested the saintess, Qingju. This made them feel even more indignant towards Jiang Tian. If it weren't for the strict rules of the Nine Mysteries sect, which required them to obey the orders of the Holy Maiden and not kill people as they pleased, they would have already killed Jiang Tian. But at this moment, seeing how powerful Jiang Tian was, their mentality changed rapidly. This kind of genius naturally had the capital to disregard everything. This kind of talented person, if the sect leader saw him, he would probably have the heart to cherish his talent and recruit him. So strong. Fairy Qingjue also seemed to be seeing Jiang Tian for the first time. She covered her mouth with her jade-like hands and was extremely shocked. Over the years, the most talented young man she had seen should be her disciple, Li Chen. However, compared with Jiang Tian, Li Chen was immediately overshadowed. He paled in comparison and was not worth mentioning at all. Great enemy, this is a great enemy of life and death. Looking at the admiring expression of the saintess and Lin Dyer's shocked and slightly regretful expression, Li Yichen was alarmed and felt an unprecedented sense of vigilance. If the saintess, Qingju, recruited Jiang Tian into the Nine Mysteries sect, his position as the chief disciple of the Nine Mysteries sect would be immediately lost. He defeated two divine sovereigns of the demon clan with one punch. This world is crazy. The Duke of Eastern Gorge stood at the outermost periphery. The muscles on his cheeks were twitching and the corners of his eyes were trembling as if he had been slapped hard in the face. Lin Hanqing is too lucky to have the help of such a monster. The four foreign dignitaries of the Duke of Eastern Gorge's mansion were all shocked as if they had seen a ghost. Jiang Tian roared and punched out again. The world suddenly collapsed and decayed. The great ways and the Dharma were shattered. All kinds of thunder and lightning shot out in all directions. Terrifying cracks appeared on the ground like a grand canyon. Raging waves swept across the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Thunder, fire, storm, rain and snow were all different. Even the Duke of Eastern Gorge, who was far away, was thrown off his feet. The flood dragon under him trembled in fear and could not wait to turn around and run away. When the punch was thrown out, 2 fist wheels with a radius of 100 feet appeared. Chaotic chi lingered and dazzled. They were like 2 grand suns in the sky, tearing the void and rushing toward the two. The 2 divine sovereigns, Residual Wolf and Catching Moon, roared crazily and used all kinds of secret magic skills. They even hurriedly took out their natal Taoist artifacts to resist. The two divine sovereigns of the demon clan were mighty figures with brilliant battle records and unpredictable magic skills. They were not weaker than the giants of the empire like Feng Jinlong and Elder Princess Mou. However, under Jiang Tian's punch, they could not withstand a single blow. Bang! Boom! With two consecutive earth-shattering noises, half of the residual wolf's body, which seemed to be made of copper and iron, was blown up. Countless pieces of flesh rained down, blood mist filled the air, and broken bones and organs flew everywhere. Moon Seizing was even more miserable. His divine treasures were blasted through by a single fist, his deity body exploding. His entire body exploded. The two divine sovereigns of the demon clan were scared out of their wits. They tried to repair their deities and reform their bodies while flying away in fear. You want to run away? Isn't it too late? But Jiang Tian would not give them a chance. He stepped into the air and used the Kuan Peng at a high speed. He tore the void with his hands and performed a space secret art. He grabbed in the air and directly pulled the two deities out of their divine treasures. Bang! The corporeal bodies of the two completely exploded, turning into a rain of flesh that scattered down. Meanwhile, the god was directly smashed into pieces by passing me Jiang Tian. The 9 transformations divine disc behind him spun, and the apparition of Taotai turned into a black hole that devoured the essence, qi, and divine power contained in the god. In a blink, the 2 grand cultivators of the demon clan had died. He killed a soul formation cultivator with a snap of his fingers. Is he still human? In an instant, the entire place fell into a strange silence. Everyone was like a clay statue. They were motionless, but they were screaming in their hearts. Jiang Tian, you're so vicious. Everyone, let's kill him together. Suddenly, Sir God Nyo Ben roared and stepped into the air. He swung his 8 arms and closed in on Jiang Tian. Good. Fairy Qingju, I'll twist off his 4 ox heads and make a braised, steamed, fried and mixed ox head stew with thunderfire wine. Wouldn't it be delicious? Although I know you've been fasting for many years, we haven't become immortals. We still have to taste the delicacies of the mortal world and experience the atmosphere of the world. Jiang Tian laughed. He was domineering and didn't neglect to fight or flirt with girls. This person is extremely talented and powerful. But why is he so frivolous and senseless? Fairy Qingju snorted in her heart. She didn't hate him as much as before. Hi, you want to kill me? Who do you think you are? Do you really think you can compete with me after killing a few grand cultivators of the soul formation realm? Sir God Nyo Ben was so angry that he laughed. He looked down at Jiang Tian as if he was looking at an ant. Sir God Nyo Ben, why don't we stop and make peace? Fairy Qingjue was still in a daze. She only regained her senses when he called her. She took a step forward and laughed coquettishly. I know you want to kill Cultivator Jiang because of the internal disputes of the Eastern Empire. But as you can see, with such a talented person like Cultivator Jiang, you can't touch the mansion of Zhenyuan Marquis. Even the pantheon of demons can't touch the Eastern Empire. Cultivators of our generation should pursue Tao wholeheartedly. We should travel freely in the world and get rid of the barriers of the secular world. We should live a long life and be free. What's the point of taking down a secular country? While persuading Sir God Nyo Ben, she sent a message to Jiang Tian with her divine consciousness. Cultivator, you'd better stop now. Didn't you come here to rescue Lin Dai? She's already free. Why do you have to be so aggressive? If you push him too far, he'll release the abyssal demonic dragon and we'll all suffer. Chapter 1921. Saintess Qingju's persuasion was reasonable. With Jiang Tian's power, he might be on par with Sir God Nyo Ben. At least he could escape unscathed. But what Fairy Qingju was really afraid of was the abyssal demon dragon. Once it was released, not to mention Jiang Tian, even she wouldn't be able to resist it. Everyone could only be swallowed and killed. When Sir God Nyo Ben heard this, he was stunned and hesitated. After all, he wasn't sure if he could suppress Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian gave him an unfathomable feeling. If he were to release the abyssal demon dragon, it would be extremely dangerous. The demon dragon was ferocious and it might swallow them too. Lin Dai also understood the terror of the abyssal demon dragon. She put her hands on her hips and snorted, "Mr. Jiang, come back immediately. Don't lose your life because of a moment of bravery. Our Lin family still needs your protection." Although she said it in a commanding tone, she called him Mr. Her words revealed her concern, worry, and reliance. She even sounded like she was acting coquettishly. As for whether she was acting coquettishly to an elder or a woman to a man, only she knew. "Who do you think you are? Big-chested, brainless thing, poor aptitude and ugly. How dare you order me around?" Jiang Tian was arrogant, willful, violent, and ferocious. He wasn't as gentle as the original body. Hearing this, he slapped Lin Dai to the ground. Moreover, this guy had always hated the original body, Jiang Tian. Besides venting his anger, he also wanted to leave a mess for the original body, Jiang Tian, to create trouble for him. You dare to hit me? How dare you?" Lin Dai's nose was bleeding and her hair was disheveled. She was embarrassed and angry. She couldn't believe that her honored guest's temperament had changed so much. He turned against her and controlled her in front of everyone. If this spread out, how could she establish herself in the empire in the future? "I'll beat you up for talking so much nonsense. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll kill you." Jiang Tian didn't care so much. He was extremely domineering and ruthless as he kicked her soft stomach, causing her to hold her stomach and vomit. "You!" Lin Dai originally wanted to refute, but when she saw Jiang Tian's crazy and ferocious eyes, she was so scared that she broke out in a cold sweat and shuddered, not daring to say another word. Li Chen did not dare to stop her from the beginning to the end. Jiang Siqing could kill a soul formation cultivator with a wave of her hand. How could he, a half-step soul formation cultivator, be a match for her? Most importantly, Jiang Tian's actions were wild and unruly. He even dared to flirt with Saintess Qingjue, so he didn't dare to provoke him. "Mr. Although Lin Dai is your junior, she is also a pre-selected disciple of our Nine Mysteries sect. Mr. You should know when to stop." Saintess Qingjue persuaded. In fact, she also disliked Lin Dai. She was too brainless. Indeed, there was a difference between an alien minister and a master. But that was only for ordinary alien ministers. When the alien minister's cultivation was higher than the master had to be respectful to the alien minister and even had to greet him as a disciple. But Lin Dai dared to shout at Jiang Tian and put on airs as a young lady. She almost couldn't believe the stupidity of her actions. "I'll give Fairy Qingjue a face and stop." Fortunately, Jiang Tian was extremely arrogant and didn't care about a small ant like Lin Dai. He didn't argue with her. "I tried to persuade you, but you didn't listen and even hit me. Then I'll let you die, you egomaniac." Thinking of this, Lin Dai's eyes flashed with indescribable resentment. She couldn't wait to cut Jiang Tian into pieces on the spot. Jiang Tian ignored Lin Dai and shook his sleeves. He looked at Sir God Nyo Ben and said with a smile, "I forgot you have a long worm. Let it out. I want to eat it. Have you eaten the battle of the dragon and tiger? It's a famous dish, an old cow and a big snake. It's so fresh." If the original Jiang Tian were to face such a situation, he definitely wouldn't be so crazy. However, Jiang Tian was just like that. I was either extremely cowardly or extremely arrogant. Then, he wanted to show off his skills in front of Fairy Qingjue and show off his power. He had completely forgotten about the danger. "You're crazy." Fairy Qingjue couldn't believe it and wanted to pull Jiang Tian back. How dare you bully me?" Sir God Nyo Ben was furious. He looked disdainfully and shouted, "You're full of nonsense. Let's see how arrogant you can be after I crush you." Before he had finished his words, he kicked the air and descended from the sky. His big foot quickly transformed into a big cow hoof that was 100 meters wide. He stomped on the air and crushed the ground and the mountain peak with one stomp. He had an aura that could crush everything and his power was boundless. Not only did the skeleton want to crush Jiang Tian, it also wanted to pierce through the mountain peak below him. But although Jiang Xiqing is talented, she is still too rash and impetuous. The Lord of the Eastern Canyon sighed, but there was a hint of coldness deep in his eyes. Jiang Tian had killed the divine lords of the moon-catching monster and the crippled wolf monster with a snap of his fingers. With such a grand cultivator helping Lin Hanqing, who would dare to compete with him in the future? If Lin Hanqing wanted to kill the Lord of the Eastern Canyon, it would only take him a few words. The Lord of the Eastern Canyon was neutral. He didn't help Purple Marquis and Jinyuan Marquis, and he had never offended Lin Hanqing. However, it wasn't a good thing for him if Lin Hanqing became powerful. What a pity! Many nascent soul and soul formation cultivators of the Nine Mysteries sect sighed. It would be a blessing for the Nine Mysteries sect if they could recruit such a talent like Jiang Xiqing. If Jiang Xiqing could kill a soul formation grand cultivator when she was only a nascent soul cultivator, the level of her nascent soul must be very high. She was a soul formation cultivator, or even a saint. Once such a talent was born, not only the Nine Mysteries sect, but also all the holy sects and holy grounds would be in high demand. Seeing this, Fairy Qingjue couldn't help but want to activate her sacred weapon to save Jiang Tian. But suddenly, there was a loud boom. A vast and blazing thunderbolt suddenly exploded under the feet of Divine Lord Niuben. The lightning was multicolored and shot straight up like a giant pillar that supported the heavens and the earth. The energy was so vast and powerful that it was like a peerless heavenly sword that could tear the sky and penetrate the universe. Everyone could only see that Sir God Niuben's foot was torn apart by the blazing lightning. Then, the lightning pillar soared to a height of dozens of miles and gave out an aura of primordial chaos. It was as though the lightning that was born when the universe was created could give birth to worlds. Divine Lord Niuben screamed and he retreated in the air. Blood splattered all over the sky. Not only was his Dharma Laksana body injured, but his real body was also affected. The other soul formation grand cultivators, including Fairy Qingjue, who was a half-saint, were dumbfounded. As for Li Yichen and Lin Dyer, they were dumbfounded as they looked at the scene in front of them, as if they were mortals who had seen a god. They saw Jiang Tian rising with his back against the thunderbolt. His white hair fluttered in the wind. His facial features were well-defined and his temperament was profound. His eyes were as sharp as knives and he was full of killing intent. He was like an invincible demon god. Chapter 1922. This scene was too shocking. Sir God Niuben was an experienced peak divine transformation realm cultivator and one of the 4 guardians of the Myriad Demons Palace. He was more than 10 times more powerful than moon-catching demon and crippled wolf combined. He might not be any weaker than Fairy Qingjue. After all, one's cultivation level was not completely equivalent to one's combat strength. Niuben was an experienced divine transformation realm cultivator and had much more combat experience than Fairy Qingjue. His combat awareness was also one of the best in the empire. However, such a peerless expert was at a disadvantage in the first round of combat with Jiang Tian? How could everyone not be shocked? You want to crush me? Do you have the ability? Bullnose. Jiang Tian's fighting spirit was boiling. A monstrous murderous aura surged. The crazy fighting spirit swept across the entire area as if it was going to shatter the sky. Even Fairy Qingjue felt her heart palpitate when she sensed this terrifying aura. She was shocked and stunned. How terrifying is this aura? Moreover, it's filled with chaotic aura. I'm afraid he's a rare divine nascent soul realm cultivator or even a deity nascent soul realm cultivator. If the Nine Mysteries sect can win him over, they will have a successor. Fairy Qingjue had always been calm and composed. It seemed that even if the world was turned upside down or collapsed, she would not be moved at all. However, at this moment she was really stunned. Her thoughts were running wild. Her moist mouth was slightly open and her clear eyes were wide open. Who in this world can kill me? Jiang Tian was arrogant and unruly. He stepped on the rules and the great Tao coiled around him as he ascended to the sky. He was majestic and filled with fighting spirit. His every move seemed to be able to destroy the world. It was as if the world could not contain him and everything was going to be torn and destroyed by him. At this moment, everyone knew that an earth-shattering battle was about to break out. It might be the most dazzling battle in the Empire in the past few hundred years. After all, Sir God Nyoben was one of the 4 guardians of the Demon King Palace. He was on par with the Pillar of the Empire, the goddess of war Dongfang Moyu, and the overlord of the southern border, Nenhi Gongfang Jinlong. You're too arrogant. You don't know the vastness of the world, and you don't know anything about the power of the demon race. Sir God Nyoben let out a low roar and his 4 faces were filled with anger. He was filled with a terrifying aura. He had the bloodline of the ancient 4-headed heavenly bull. At that moment, he was condensing his real blood and burning his divine power. His body suddenly expanded to a height of 10,000 feet. He looked like an ancient demon god that had descended, and he was almost the same as an ancient ancestor. Die! His 8 arms each held a saint weapon and a Tao artifact. Each of them could split the heavens and shatter the earth. They all shook and changed, leaving behind afterimages in the air. He was like a 1,000-armed Buddha. With a furious roar, he also attacked Jiang Tian. Clang! Jiang Tian wanted to show his divinity in front of everyone, so he didn't dodge at all. He used his chaotic divine body to take on the power of the 8 arms head-on. Suddenly, a huge explosion occurred. The void cracked, the laws were in chaos, and the great Tao collapsed. Countless mountains crumbled. Lightning interweaved in the sky. It was chaos. The sun and the moon seemed to be hanging upside down. Rumble. The battlefield was in chaos within a radius of 100 miles. There was no doubt that it was a peak battle. If it weren't for the sturdy great Tao of heaven and earth and the tough Dharma that suppressed the power of the cultivators, the impact and the repercussions of the battle would have destroyed 100,000 or even a small planet like Earth. At that moment, the cultivators of the East Gorge Mansion, the Myriad Demons Palace, and even the 9 Mysteries sect retreated one after another. They took flight and ran faster than rabbits. The collision between the 2 gave off a destructive feeling. Very soon, it went beyond the range of the 100 Flowers Peak. Everyone was afraid that they would be caught in the crossfire. In fact, if the nascent Soul Realm cultivators were slightly slower, they would be instantly crushed into powder by the repercussions of the collision. Not even a drop of dust was left. Clang. After Jiang Tian blocked the attack of the 8 arms, he suddenly threw out a punch. The void exploded and it was followed by the collapse of space. Countless chaotic holes appeared and they were dark, deep and pitch black as though they were connected to another dimension. A punch broke through the void and hit Sir God Nyoben. Divine Lord Nyobai's 8 arms swayed at the same time. The sacred weapons and magic treasures in his hands shone with dazzling light at the same time. Several layers of domains were spread out in an attempt to fend off Jiang Tian's punch. But it was useless. Bang, bang, bang. The fist force was unparalleled and the chaotic aura was extremely condensed. It crushed all Daos and Dharma treasures. Sir God Nyoben's Tao weapons and holy weapons exploded one after another. The fragments and Dharma treasures shot out and collided with the Dharma and great Tao of heaven and earth. Thunderous dragons that were 1,000 meters long were created. Every wisp of chaotic chi that Jiang Tian had unleashed turned into a heavenly sword. There were more than tens of thousands of them. They were as numerous as the spring rain and the hair of a cow. They slashed horizontally, slashed vertically, stabbed vertically, stirred and rotated as they slashed on Nyoben's body with various sword moves. They were so deep that the bones could be seen. It was a ghastly sight. The slashes caused the hair of the cow to fly and the beef to roll. Sir God Nyoben screamed in pain and he was furious. "This is impossible!" Sir God Nyoben shouted and retreated. Ever since he had cultivated the real body of the 4-headed heavenly bull, he had been invincible in the entire Eastern Empire. Even the void-returned saints of the holy grounds and holy sects could only lightly injure him. He had never thought that he would be defeated by an itinerant cultivator from an alien tribe. It was really unbearable. It smells so good. Jiang Tian sniffed and his handsome face showed an intoxicated expression. He looked at Saintess Qingju and said in high spirits, "It tastes good. Don't you want to eat it? This is the meat of a heavenly bull." With such a monster helping Lin Hanqing, he will be safe in the empire. The expressions of many of the experts present also changed. The Duke of Eastern Gorge was deeply moved. In fact, there were some things that he had not said. If Lin Hanqing wanted to, he could change the name of the empire. "Duke, you are right." The 4 foreign dignitaries of the Duke's mansion nodded in agreement. They all thought that they were monstrous geniuses. The 4 friends of Eastern Gorge had their own strengths and were famous all over the world. However, the power that Jiang Tian had shown was not worth mentioning at all. "No matter how you change, you can't hurt me. No matter how powerful you are, I will break it with one punch. Saintess, we have to recruit this person no matter what. Even if he is not willing to join the 9 Mysteries sect, we have to try our best to win him over." Nangongyu, an elder of the 9 Mysteries sect, looked at Saintess Qingju and spoke to her through divine sense. He was expressionless and looked calm. However, when his voice sounded in Saintess Qingju's mind, it trembled slightly. It showed how excited he was. "I understand." Saintess Qingju nodded with a solemn expression. Although Nangongyu's cultivation was not as high as hers, he was an elder in the 9 Mysteries sect. He had a close relationship with her father and was highly valued by the higher-ups of the sect. His judgment was especially sharp. Every time the sect recruited new disciples, he would be the one to check them out. He had once discovered many divine transformation realm cultivators. He valued Jiang Tian's potential. It could be said that Jiang Tian's current combat strength was enough to show disdain for the world. He was on par with the holy sons and Zongzi of the various holy grounds. However, what was more exciting was Jiang Tian's potential. Jiang Tian was very young. He was not even 100 years old. However, he could challenge a divine transformation realm cultivator. Chapter 1923. Regardless of whether Jiang Tian had a divine nascent soul or a deity nascent soul, he would be an extraordinary being in time to grow into one of the most powerful beings on this continent. It was even possible for him to become a void-returning cultivator and become a sage. Any sect that obtained such a prodigy would have an additional return to void stage saint guarding the sect. A void-returning cultivator. It was like the superpowers on Earth that had nuclear weapons. They would have the capital to deter their opponents and stand proudly on this continent. Their status would definitely rise as a result. This human is too terrifying. As for the demon race cultivators, their faces were pale as they trembled in fear. Jiang Tian took out a bamboo skewer and pierced a piece of beef in the air. He then used vermilion bird fire to roast the beef and sprinkled some cumin on it from time to time. "Moo! You've gone too far." Niu Ben roared angrily and opened his mouth. Suddenly, endless Dharma laws appeared and turned into chains of order, rushing in all directions. Clang, clang, clang. The chains of law were like dragons, and the laws were different. Strange phenomena appeared. The chains of law of green thunder shot out lightning, the chains of law of fire burned the sky, and the chains of law of astral wind seemed to be connected to the 9 nether hells and the 9 heavens. There were hundreds of them, and there were fragments of the great Tao floating between them. They were like the hair of a demon god, and they rushed towards Jiang Tian to bind him. Clang, boom. When Niu Ben's chains of order rushed out, the Dharma laws in the world were torn apart and the great Tao was shattered. It had the power to destroy everything. Each chain of order could destroy a majestic city and the foundation of a feudal family. They weaved into a net, covering the sky and covering the earth as they charged towards Jiang Tian. At this moment, the several thousand-foot mountain peaks around Jiang Tian were pierced through by the law chains. The 100,000-foot mountain peaks were wrapped around by the law chains and instantly exploded. Humph! Passing me, Jiang Tian humphed and unleashed the extreme speed of the Kunpeng. He took a step in the air and his body soared into the sky like a dragon. In the chain of law that was like a giant net and a jungle, he soared and galloped. His body moved and he dodged the piercing and strangling of the chain of law easily. He then appeared in front of Sir God Niu Ben like a ghost. Jiang Tian didn't use his Dharma form and was still the size of an ordinary person. In front of Sir God Nyo Ben, who was 5 to 6 miles tall, he was as small as an egg at the foot of Mount Tai. However, Sir God Nyo Ben suddenly revealed an extremely shocked expression and shouted, "My friend, please stop." He wanted to stop and make peace. But Jiang had already attacked. Kong Klang. Passing me, Jiang Tian punched out, opening and closing wide. At this moment, the fist force was unparalleled. The mountains collapsed and the seas roared. The sun and the moon dimmed and the stars moved. It was extremely terrifying. Under the punch, Sir God Nyo Ben's skull, which was facing Jiang Tian, was smashed into pieces. It fell and blood spurted out. Then, the skull that was a few hundred meters in radius exploded with a loud bang. Blood splattered all over the sky and flesh rained down. It was as though there was a rainstorm. Starting from the skull, there were terrifying cracks spreading to the other 3 skulls. They instantly covered all of them like a spider web. In the blink of an eye, the 3 skulls exploded in the sky one after another. There were thunderous booms and all kinds of rules and great ways collapsed. There were thunderbolts that were 1,000 meters long in the sky. Rumble. Nyo Ben's huge body, which was 5 to 6 miles tall, slammed heavily on the ground with 8 huge arms and caused a mountain to collapse. He's too strong. He only used 3 rounds to kill Sir God Nyo Ben? At this moment, the Duke of Eastern Canyon and the 4 guests were dumbfounded. It was as though they were struck by lightning. How could he be so sharp? Fairy Qingjue raised her head in a daze, looking at the deceased Jiang Tian in disbelief. He killed Sir God Nyo Ben. Such a young talent is demonic. How could Li Yichen be compared to him? Lin Dai was even more dumbfounded. Brother Jiang, you fought beautifully. Why don't you stay at the 9 Mysteries sect for a few days and we can discuss martial arts together to improve our cultivation? Suddenly, Fairy Qingjue took light steps and flew in front of me, Jiang Tian. She curtsied, and her gentle smile revealed deep reverence. Brother Jiang, your cultivation is deep and your divine powers are unpredictable. The old man is full of admiration for you. The sect master of the 9 Mysteries sect is very hospitable and he likes to make friends with all the talents in the world. If you are willing to come, he will be very happy. Elder Nangong Yu stepped forward and revealed a respectful expression. He solemnly cupped his fists and extended a warm invitation. It was as if he had already treated Jiang Tian as a distinguished guest. But isn't the sect master in seclusion? Elder Nangong means that he will ask the sect master to come out of seclusion and meet Brother Jiang. It's obvious that Brother Jiang is very important to Elder Nangong and the Holy Maiden. When the other disciples of the 9 Mysteries sect heard this, they were all shocked. They discussed among themselves and looked at Jiang Tian with great respect. Sai, he has such great strength and can be called a big shot on this continent. He is strong enough to make friends with the Holy Maiden, the elders, and even the sect master. It's funny that I was worried that the Holy Maiden would take him as a disciple of the 9 Mysteries sect and compete with me for the position of the chief disciple. How could such a position exist in the eyes of such a powerful person? At this moment, Li Yichen's face was gloomy. He was like a grain of rice under the bright moon. He had lost his will to compete and was despondent. When a person was stronger than you but you could still catch up, you would be vigilant, jealous, and even resentful. When a person was so strong that you didn't even have the chance to catch up, you wouldn't even be jealous. You could only sigh in admiration. If there is a chance to meet the sect master, this is such an honor. When Lin Dai saw the Holy Maiden Qingjue's shocked and admiring expression towards Jiang Tian and heard Nangong Yu's invitation, a trace of strong and clear regret emerged in her heart. At that time, Lin Hanqing had tried his best to matchmake Jiang Tian and Lin Dai. However, Lin Dai was infatuated with Li Yichen at that time and was extremely resistant to this matter. She kept saying, "Cultivator from outside the river," and "widower with a child," and looked down on Jiang Tian. She even threatened Lin Hanqing that if he dared to force her, she would commit suicide. Thus, Lin Hanqing had to give up. But now, based on Jiang Tian's current valiant battle record, not to mention that she was just the daughter of a marquis. Even if she was the little princess Dongfang Ying or eldest princess Mou, would she be worthy of him? As for Li Chen, compared to Jiang Tian, he was not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Even if the sect master of the Nine Mystery Sect came personally, he would have to be courteous to him. At that moment, her father's words could not help but appear in her mind. He is not a simple person. He has hidden his sharpness. Now, he is just a small lotus that has revealed its tip. One day, when he completely reveals his strength and ascends to the heavens, he will become a giant in the Saint Origin world. I am afraid that even the princesses of the imperial family and the goddesses of the holy lands and holy sects will fight for him. At that time, it will be difficult for you to get close to him again. At that time, you will regret it. At that time, she had only thought it was a joke. But now, it had become a reality. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At that moment, Sir God Nyoben's divine treasure cracked open and a god that looked like a mini version of himself left his body. The body and divine treasure that had lost the god immediately exploded and turned into a rain of sparkling flesh and broken bones that splattered everywhere. Sir God Nyoben's god did not even look at it. He waved his hand and took away the demon imprisoning fairy jar. Without saying a word, he flew away in a ray of light. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The other monster clan cultivators quickly followed him, trying to run away. Jiang Tian snorted and used the extreme speed of the Kuan Peng again to chase after Sir God Nyoben. Don't chase after a cornered enemy. Seeing this, Fairy Qingjue's pretty face changed and she warned loudly. Chapter 1924. Nyoben's deity had given up his body, many holy weapons and doctrine artifacts, and only took the demon imprisoning fairy jar with him as a deterrent. Now that his corporeal body was dead, even if his god was still alive and he was lucky enough to be reborn or reconstruct his corporeal body with a drop of blood, his cultivation level was only 1/10 of his original. He was already desperate, and he was not afraid of anything. If Jiang Tian dared to chase after him, he would risk his life and release the demonic dragon decimating abyss. My friend Jiang Tian, he has already retreated. Why do you have to fight to the death with him? He has the abyssal demonic dragon. Elder Nangong Yu's face was also filled with anxiety as he shouted loudly. Ha, what else is there in this world that I, Jiang Xiqing, will fight to the death with him? Jiang Tian did not listen. In his laughter, the Kuan Peng accelerated to its maximum speed. Its body was like a peerless heavenly sword that split the heavens and earth. It was about to catch up with him. So brainless. Disaster. Disaster. Lin Dyer was so anxious that she stomped her feet. She hated Jiang Tian to the extreme. In her opinion, Jiang Tian had killed the divine emperors of the monster clan and destroyed Nyoben's body. He was qualified to look down on the world. This was what it meant to be famous. In the future, no matter where Jiang Tian went, the royal families of the countries, the aristocratic families and even the holy sects and holy grounds would have to show him respect. However, Jiang Tian had chased after Nyoben and provoked the abyssal demonic dragon. He was courting death. He did not know when to stop and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. The abyssal demonic dragon was a ferocious creature from the ancient times. Its strength was probably 10 times or even 100 times more powerful than Nyoben's. Retreat. Fairy Qingjue made a prompt decision and waved her hand. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many cultivators of the Nine Mysteries sect flew away on their flying swords and various flying Dharma artifacts to avoid the attack. Retreat. Seeing this scene, the Eastern Gorge Duke's expression turned incomparably horrified, and he shouted loudly. He knew that this was the most dangerous moment. The scariest one was never Sir God Nyoben but the Abyss Demon Dragon. Once this demonic dragon was born, not many people in the entire empire would be able to stop it. Even Soul Formation Grand Cultivators like them wouldn't be able to stop the decimating abyss. Bush, bush. The Lord of the Eastern Gorge and the 4 guest elders led a lot of cultivators solemnly. Without saying a word, They soared into the sky in streaks of light like supersonic fighter jets and swept across the sky to a military fortification thousands of kilometers away. Jiang, you forced me to do this. Niu Ben's god roared furiously and lifted the lid of the devil-imprisoning immortal jar. At this moment, the world seemed to have lost all light. All of a sudden, everything became dark and gloomy. Everyone, including Fairy Qingjue, the Duke of Eastern Gorge and Elder Nangong, felt suffocated and extremely uncomfortable. It was a kind of reverence that came from the bottom of his heart. It was an instinctive fear. It was like a fierce tiger hiding in the forest. Rabbits, elks, and other small animals or herbivores, even if they had not seen it with their own eyes, would tremble and feel uneasy when they sensed its aura and majesty. Roar! A deep roar that sounded like muffled thunder came from the jar. A ray of dark light suddenly shot out from it and soared into the sky. Everyone looked up in shock and saw that the wind and clouds had gathered in the sky, forming a giant vortex that was hundreds of kilometers wide. This vortex was extremely deep and dark. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, the laws of nature were chaotic, and the fragments of the great Tao floated up and down. Strange phenomena appeared as if it was connected to the demon realm and the 9 heavens. It was extremely frightening. Even the people in the Lord of the Eastern Gorge's territory thousands of kilometers away saw this scene. It instantly spread across the entire empire. My decimating abyss has finally seen the light of day again. A dragon's roar came from the vortex. The sound was as loud as thunder. The powerful sound instantly broke the eardrums of many nascent soul cultivators and made them bleed. Every inch of their muscles was trembling. An unparalleled power directly invaded their divine sense, making them feel small and insignificant compared to the decimating abyss. They couldn't help but have the urge to kneel down and worship it. Even the soul formation grand cultivators couldn't withstand it. Their expressions changed drastically as they frantically stepped back. This dragon's roar also spread across the entire empire in an instant. It even spread outside the empire and shocked half of the Saint Origin world. The decimating abyss has reappeared in the Eastern Gorge. This is the famous primordial demon dragon. Terrifying. It didn't die. For a moment, everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. This time, the pantheon of demons has really put in a lot of effort. Eastern Lu put on his clothes and stood up in his bedroom. His expression was stern as he cast his gaze toward the Eastern Gorge and the 100 Flowers Peak. Mr. actually went up against the decimating abyss demon dragon? Why did the opponent's plan this time was so far-reaching? It's so terrifying. In the Princess Royal's palace in Jianghan City, Princess Royal Mou's delicate body trembled slightly. Her jade face was filled with anxiety and worry. Will Senior Jiang be okay? Princess Dongfang Ying's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. She pulled the Princess Royal's sleeve and asked in a trembling voice. Mr. is blessed by the heavens. Of course, he'll be fine, Lin Yang said with a smile, but in fact, he wasn't very confident. He grew up listening to the legend of the decimating abyss demon dragon. In his memory, it wasn't a creature that belonged to the Saint Origin world at all. This Lin Dyer has done a lot of harm. If anything happens to Mr., I'll kill her. Princess Royal Mou suddenly shouted with a cold face. In the mortal world, whether it was the royal family, the nobles, or the civil and military officials, none of them could ignore this news. The decimating abyss has reappeared. How can we just stand by and watch? It will definitely set off a storm of blood. Close the gates of the sect and activate all the mountain protection arrays. All the disciples who are traveling outside must return to the sect immediately. We can't stay here for long. All the secluded sects were alarmed. The soul formation grand cultivators walked out of their secluded cultivation places. The sect masters soared into the sky, as if they were facing a great enemy. Their expressions were unprecedentedly serious. Some were communicating with their divine sense to discuss the strategy of killing. Some chose to avoid the danger and close the gates. Some directly fled into the distance. The decimating abyss has already been enshrined by the pantheon of demons as a guardian beast, who could kill the pantheon of demons so badly and force the demons to use the decimating abyss. What kind of monster is involved? Even the living fossils who had chosen to stop their blood and wait for their opportunity, who were already old and emitting a decaying aura, had awakened. They cast their turbid eyes toward the Eastern Empire, the Eastern Canyon, and the 100 Flowers Peak. The decimating abyss. He's about to appear. The Duke of the Eastern Canyon looked at the sky with a pale face, trembling uneasily. The dragon with extremely high cultivation under him was so scared that it was trembling, like an earthworm meeting a giant python. This is the decimating abyss. The 4 guests were also shocked. Their eyes were filled with extreme horror. A giant, hideous, and terrifying dragon head slowly emerged from the clouds. The dragon head was the size of a 1,000-foot mountain and had a radius of 10 miles. It was visually shocking and oppressive. Soon after, the enormous dragon body was faintly discernible within the churning dark clouds. Roughly estimating, it was likely 100 miles long. It was like a winding mountain range that spanned across the sky. Its dragon horns were like halberds and swords, piercing the sky. Its 5 claws were shining with a sharp light. Its black scales had a cold, metallic luster. They were heavy and sharp. Countless wisps of black mist rose around it, turning into a hell. Numerous devil gods could be faintly seen standing up from within hell. Every single one of them was 300 m tall, covered in black armor, and had 2 horns that shot into the sky and flickered with cold lights. Their crimson-red eyes were blood-red like diamonds, and they opened their bloody mouths to reveal countless fangs that emanated cold lights, causing them to seem like devils from hell. They weren't real fiend gods. They were just the external manifestations of the fiend chi laws, which were extremely terrifying. Chapter 1925. When the abyssal demon dragon's terrifying aura was completely unleashed, everyone within a radius of 1,000 miles felt a tremendous pressure. It was as if a 1,000-pound hammer had smashed into their chests, making it difficult for them to breathe and their heartbeats quicken. Those below the soul formation realm couldn't control themselves at all. They lost all their dermic powers and fell from the sky. Lin Dyer and Li Chen were covered in dust and dirt. They couldn't resist the pressure and could only crawl on the ground, unable to get up. It's too powerful. This decimating abyss demonic dragon seems to be much stronger than what was recorded in the ancient books. Fairy Qingjue's face turned pale and she lost her composure. According to the ancient books, this decimating abyss demonic dragon was about a half-saint and its real body was only 50 miles long. But now it was more than 100 miles long. However, his strength had doubled, and he had completely stepped into the return to void stage. In the long history, the pantheon of demons has been raising and worshipping it. It uses the blood essence and dermic powers of nascent soul and soul formation cultivators as resources. How can its cultivation not increase? Elder Nangong Yu shook his head, his eyes full of fear and worry. In fact, at this moment, the hearts of countless cultivators and mortals in the Eastern Canyon were in their throats as they broke out in cold sweat. Especially the cultivators, they were even more terrified than before. It was as if you went up the mountain to hunt a wild rabbit but met a wild boar or a wolf. You had a mental breakdown. This Jiang Xiqing is going to kill us. Li Chen hit the ground with his head and lay on the ground like a dead dog. He gritted his teeth and cursed. Why didn't he die? He could have let Niu Ben's god leave, but he had to stop him. He released the decimating abyss demonic dragon and we're all in danger. He's so arrogant and unscrupulous, but the saintess thinks highly of him. Jiang Xiqing, you're just a stubborn person who can't be persuaded. You're so arrogant. You didn't listen to me and provoked Divine Lord Niu Ben. Look what happened now. He released the decimating abyss demonic dragon. Let's see how you get through this crisis. Lin Dyer was so angry that her face turned red. She kept pounding the ground with her fists to vent her anger. I'm going to enjoy myself. The abyssal demon dragon clawed. Immediately, massive dragon claws appeared above the Duke of the Eastern Gorge's group several hundred li away. The claws were covered in black scales, and each one was several zhang wide. They were like a roof, and their sharp claws shone with cold light as they swiped at the Duke of the Eastern Gorge and the 4 guest chamberlains. What? The Eastern Gorge Duke and the 4 guest chamberlains stared in disbelief. It was rumored that the decimating abyss possessed the bloodline of a true dragon, and was known for its numerous transformations. It was omnipotent, and meticulous. They had long been 100 times more vigilant, but they never imagined that the decimating abyss would act so quickly. But the Duke of the Eastern Gorge and the 4 guest chamberlains weren't ordinary people either. They each had their own strengths. Immediately, beams of light shot into the sky, tearing the night sky apart and illuminating the land. The Duke of the Yellow Bell's giant golden bell vibrated and produced sound waves that could destroy mountains. Dan Qingxing waved his brush and immediately, beasts and swords formed. Each of them contained laws and were comparable to a Dao artifact. They attacked the dragon claws. Bald Brush Weng wrote straight and powerful runes condensed under the tip of his brush. They shone with dazzling golden light. Meanwhile, Shifuozi threw out chess pieces one after another, which immediately turned into unparalleled generals, soldiers, chariots, flying boats, and buildings. They instantly formed an army formation and charged towards the sky. Little worm, huh? You still want to resist? The decimating abyss snorted. As he grunted, fire, wind, and thunder spurted out of his nostrils, which were enough to destroy a city. It was a shocking scene. His demonic dragon claws became larger and larger, instantly becoming several dozen kilometers across. They blotted out the sky like clouds. Even more terrifyingly, all energy, powers, and laws were sealed and obliterated in this space. Even space had been frozen like a metal plate, making it impossible to use any techniques of escape. Enveloped by the demonic dragon claws, the sound waves fell silent and the golden bell stopped moving. Whether it was the beasts, swords, spears, swords, or halberds, they all collapsed and dispersed. The golden runes were all destroyed. In the end, the entire chess piece formation turned back into chess pieces and fell to the ground. They actually did not possess any powers at all. Slash. The Duke of the Eastern Gorge became extremely stern. He released his ancestral flying sword and swung it towards the demonic dragon claws. This ancestral flying sword was a holy weapon, and its magic power was not completely restricted. Normally, it could overturn rivers and seas, and split mountains and split the earth. At this moment, it struck the demonic dragon's claw with a clang, but it made a clanging sound and burst into sparks. However, it did not even cut off a single dragon scale. The dragon claws swiped backwards and directly crushed the ancestral flying sword to pieces. Spurt. On the other hand, the Duke of the Eastern Gorge was utterly disgusted. He tasted something sweet in his throat and vomited a mouthful of black blood. Oh no! The Duke of the Eastern Gorge and the others discovered to their shock that not only were all their powers and treasures useless, they could not even escape. They were already trapped there. Afterwards, the many cultivators, including the Duke of the Eastern Gorge, were all captured by the dragon claws. They could not struggle at all. My life is over. The Duke of the Eastern Gorge howled miserably. He had already been extremely cautious. Originally, he only wanted to watch this fierce battle, but he never thought that he would still end up like this. It could only be said that the decimating abyss was just too powerful and too terrifying. Afterwards, the decimating abyss opened its mouth and turned into a huge black hole. A terrifying suction force erupted from it, as if it wanted to swallow the entire world. With the suction, countless tornadoes erupted. Immediately, countless huge rocks floated into the air and flew towards the huge mouth with the Duke of the Eastern Gorge, the 4 guest elders, and the many nascent soul cultivators. My lord, we'll save you. The 4 guest elders roared and used the last of their powers to push the Duke of the Eastern Gorge away. However, they and the dozens of nascent soul cultivators were instantly sucked into the huge mouth and killed by the laws. They were smelted and burned into the purest essence qi and completely devoured. This was a shocking scene that made the scalps of all the survivors numb and their hearts almost explode. That feeling was like being immersed in the mouth of a bottomless ice sea in an extremely cold place. They felt cold all over and their hair stood on end. There were 4 soul formation cultivators, and all of them were late or even peak soul formation cultivators. Moreover, they were all experienced soul formation cultivators with unfathomable abilities. It was not an exaggeration to say that even if they encountered a half-sage, they would still have the chance to escape unscathed. However, such a peerless expert was actually swallowed by the decimating abyss in a single gulp like eating candy. Fellow Taoist Jiang, what should we do? Fairy Qingjue's voice trembled slightly as she looked at Jiang Tian in panic. For the first time, she did not know what to do. They were the closest to the decimating abyss demon dragon, only a few dozen kilometers away. They were completely within the attack range of the decimating abyss. The reason why the decimating abyss attacked the Duke of the Eastern Gorge and the others first was because they had already escaped too far away and were worried that they would not be able to capture them. The reason why they did not attack Jiang Tian and the others was not because the decimating abyss was merciful. Instead, it was because they were certain that Jiang Tian would not have the chance to escape. Fairy Qingjue could not help but worry. Although Jiang Tian could kill soul formation cultivators with a raise of his hand, the decimating abyss demon dragon's performance was truly too terrifying. Its demonic flames shook the heavens and earth and blocked some laws and abilities. Could Jiang Tian really withstand it? At this moment, even Elder Nangong Yu, who thought the most highly of Jiang Tian, felt uneasy and sweaty. Chapter 1926. Although Mr. Jiang's divine powers are unpredictable and his methods are heaven-defying, being able to kill an experienced soul formation grand cultivator at the peak nascent soul realm, he's still from a remote and desolate galaxy. He's not a native of the Saint Origin world. He doesn't know how terrifying the decimating abyss demonic dragon is. He doesn't know that we cultivators should follow the heavenly Tao and that the strong are easy to break. Even Elder Nangong Yu shook his head and sighed, feeling anxious and regretful. He escorted the disciples of the Nine Mysteries sect to retreat and was at the back, more than 100 miles away from the decimating abyss demonic dragon. But he still felt a great pressure. Under this terrifying pressure, he even had the urge to kneel down and submit, prostrating himself in worship. The Saint Origin world once had a dark age when the monster clan wreaked havoc. Countless human cultivators became food for the monster clan and their lives were in danger. Their fear of the monster clan was bone deep. As a cultivator, his senses were 1,000,000 times sharper than a mortal's. He could clearly feel the ferocious power and demonic qi emitted by the decimating abyss demonic dragon. If Jiang Tian's original body was here, he would probably also be somewhat fearful. This demonic dragon's cultivation base had already reached the half-saint stage and was only half a step away from reaching the divine transcendent stage. It was much more powerful than Emperor Nyoben, especially since it had the bloodline of a true dragon, which was extremely rich. It was called a quasi-true dragon and its body was much stronger than its peers. At this moment, its scales and muscles were much stronger than ancestral patriarch Tsang Ming in the ruins of immortality. The most terrifying thing was that it had been contaminated by demonic qi. After countless years, the demonic qi had melted together and turned into its own dharma and Tao. It was full of demonic qi and could destroy the dharma and Tao of human cultivators. Its defense was amazing. Even a sacred weapon would be like scratching an itch to it. But so what? Unfortunately, the decimating abyss demonic dragon didn't meet Jiang Tian this time. It was Jiang Tian's evil thoughts and negative emotions that turned into Jiang Tian. He was full of contradictions, hypocrisy, greed and deceit, as well as jealousy, viciousness, bloodthirstiness and brutality. Sometimes he was afraid of death. Sometimes he liked to show off in front of others and would never back down. Jiang Tian raised his head. His eyes were filled with indifference and arrogance, filled with a wild and bloodthirsty aura. In my previous life, Even the true dragon of the 9 heavens was killed by me. Besides, you're just a quasi-true dragon. Even if you transcend your tribulation and become a true return to void stage sage, I'll still be able to kill you." As if sensing the disdain in Jiang Tian's eyes, the abyss demon dragon no longer paid any attention to the Duke of Eastern Gorge who was running for his life. He withdrew his giant claw and turned his mountain-like dragon head around. His eyes, which were as bright as the sun, stared at Jiang Tian and said coldly, "What a ridiculous and ignorant human bug. Aren't you afraid? A mere snake is barely qualified to be my mount." Jiang Tian stepped out. At this moment he was like a peerless devil ancestor. There was actually devil chi swirling around him, extremely terrifying and intimidating. His eyes were filled with coldness and madness, causing others to not dare to approach him. What a powerful aura! Fairy Qingjue's heart trembled slightly. She had a feeling. In Jiang Tian's eyes, the heavens and earth, the immortals and Buddhas were nothing in his eyes, not to mention the demons and monsters. Even if the 9 heavens celestial realm mighty figures descended to the mortal world, he would still kill them. This was a kind of domineering aura. It was a kind of extreme confidence that no one could defeat him. As expected of a peerless prodigy. Only a peerless prodigy who is blessed by heaven and earth would have this kind of confidence. Elder Nangong Yu was also shocked. This kind of aura was too powerful. It was as if he was the master of this world. Even a true god would be trampled under his feet. The birth of the abyss demon dragon would be a great calamity. Not only the Eastern Empire, but the entire Saint Origin world would experience a great calamity. Even the corpses of hundreds of millions of people would not be enough. Even soul formation mighty figures and return to void stage mighty figures would suffer. After all, the abyss demon dragon was once famous and had wreaked havoc in an era. It had once devoured 800 soul formation mighty figures and several returned to void stage mighty figures. Its battle record was there. After a long time and being worshipped and raised by the pantheon of demons, its strength had increased instead of decreasing. Now, who would be willing to step forward and fight? Jiang Tian wanted to kill the decimating abyss demonic dragon. This could be said to be 100 deaths and 1 life. This was also a shocking battle, but he didn't even frown. Just this courage alone made Nangong Yu admire him endlessly. However, admiration is one thing, but Elder Nangong Yu still doesn't have any confidence in me, Jiang Tian. As for Lin Dyer and Li Chen, they did not admire Jiang Tian's courage at all. They only felt that he was courting death. Right at this moment, many mirrors, crystal cameras, and observation ships arrived and floated in the area of 1,000 square kilometers around the battlefield. Why did the abyss demon dragon come out? Was it released by the Niumang? His physical body has been destroyed and only a true god is left? Who did it? I heard from the 9 Mysteries sect that it was a cultivator from outside the galaxy called Jiang Xiqing. She is now a guest of the Duke of Jinyuan's family. The Luoying sect, the Ancient Medicine Hall, the Tian Luo sect, the 9 Mysteries sect, and the other divine sects of the Saint Origin world had all sent down their Dharma artifacts to observe the battle closely. Beams of light descended from the sky and turned into soul formation grand cultivators. What? The Lin Hanqing family of the Duke of Jinyuan's family? Someone so powerful? He has the confidence to challenge the abyss demon dragon? In addition, many observation artifacts and special envoys from other countries had also arrived. They were all so shocked that their eyes almost popped out. The birth of the abyssal devil dragon was an earth-shattering event for any force. They were not there for Jiang Tian. They were there to observe the combat power of the abyss demon dragon and to prepare for the coming bloody storm. You're courting death. I can see that you have a good foundation. I'll keep you alive so that you can reproduce and become my food for generations to come. The abyss demon dragon roared and its fiend chi was awakened. Its combat power increased rapidly like a gust of wind from the 9 heavens. The Dharma laws and grand Tao in the world immediately became chaotic and clashed with each other. Green thunderbolts that were thousands of meters long burst out, as if they could destroy the world. At the same time, countless cultivators who were watching the battle 1,000 miles away were terrified. They had all set up supreme divine arrays and even brought along holy arrays created by Return to Void stage saints to protect themselves. Even so, they could still feel the terrifying aura. Their nascent souls and gods were about to split apart. It was as if a knife was scraping off their bones. Every inch of their muscles and flesh was about to be peeled off, and every drop of their chi and blood was about to dry up. It was a kind of bone-scraping pain caused by the corrosion of the devil chi. They could imagine what would have happened if they didn't have those arrays to protect themselves. They would have been turned into ashes immediately. Not even a drop of ashes would be left. And all of this was just a kind of energy wave. It wasn't a fight between the two sides. That was the power of an ancient half-saint, a supreme overlord, like a god. Terrifying. The power of the abyss demon dragon is making my true god tremble as if it's about to shatter. I can't take it anymore. My primordial spirit is about to escape from my body. Retreat another 500 miles. Many powerful cultivators from the divine sects and powerful nations cried out in alarm. Then, they retreated like shooting stars, as if they were avoiding a fiend god. The abyssal demon dragon's roar was as if the heavens had descended from the heavens, crushing everyone to the point that they felt like they were about to crumble. Chapter 1927. Saintess, we can't help here. At this moment, even Nangong Yu flew forward and dragged Fairy Qingjue away forcefully. Not to mention me, there aren't many people on this continent who can save him. Whether he lives or dies will depend on his own fortune. Although Fairy Qingjue was very worried about Jiang Tian, there was nothing she could do. She sighed and was dragged away by Nangong Yu quickly. This was the power of a half-saint. Besides, a demonized quasi-true dragon's aura could penetrate a nascent soul cultivator and injure a soul formation cultivator. Even she couldn't resist it. In fact, she already felt that the Dharma power of the Dharma artifacts around her and the sacred weapon in her hand were about to be destroyed. She wouldn't be able to last long in this place. She would be killed. Seeing that the decimating abyss demonic dragon's attention was focused on Jiang Tian, Li Yichen, Lin Dai, and the other disciples all ran away in panic. They felt that the further away they were from the decimating abyss demonic dragon, the safer they would be. I've changed my mind. Jiang Tian suddenly let out a long laugh and said in a domineering manner, I originally wanted to take you as my mount, but you are arrogant and untamed, and I think you will often kick me. I'll stew you and make a snake feast. You're an old snake and your meat is chewy. Hearing that, the decimating abyss demonic dragon's pupils contracted and a murderous aura shot out. Demonic chi surged around his body and was as thick as black glue. He roared, Little worm, you ridiculous and ignorant worm. Do you know how many genius nascent soul cultivators like you I've killed? I've even killed a deity-grade nascent soul cultivator before. Boom. At this moment, the decimating abyss demonic dragon didn't hide his power anymore. However, with 100 Flowers Peak as the center, the area of a few thousand kilometers around it had become a land of death and silence. Mountains collapsed and the earth split apart, and there were large cracks everywhere. Rocks rotted into powder, and not a single blade of grass grew. All living beings had died in an instant, losing their vitality. But all the demonic creatures were rapidly multiplying. It was as if he had been reborn from a drop of blood. Hideous devilish bugs were crawling on the ground crazily, corroding and swallowing everything. Some of them could even condense or evolve into large devils with the capability to fight against the nascent soul stage cultivators. This was the terrifying result everyone saw. It was hard for them to accept. All of this was too bizarre and terrifying. It could be said that the demonic chi of the decimating abyss demonic dragon was more destructive than the result of the battle between the Nine Mysteries sect and the pantheon of demons. With a single roar, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked, and the seas turned into mulberry fields. The ancient gods could destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth with a single strike, but that's all there is to it. Terrifying. The appearance of the decimating abyss is definitely a great disaster. This is a catastrophe. Not only the Eastern Empire, but also our Saint Origin continent, including the many divine sects and sacred grounds, will face a great challenge. Who can stop such a powerful decimating abyss? He seems to be able to demonize foreign objects. Everyone was horrified, and their hearts were filled with warning signs. They even felt a little despair. The oppressive feeling was almost suffocating. At this time, no one thought that Jiang Tian could turn the situation around. They only thought that it had attracted the demonic creatures and caused a disaster. This was all Jiang Xiqing's doing. This kid's crime is unforgivable. He must be punished. Li Chen fanned the flames. He naturally understood that with his strength, he couldn't even withstand a slap from Jiang Tian. But if all the divine sects and sacred grounds saw Jiang Tian as their enemy and attacked him together, how could he survive? Is there a need for you to do this? He's fighting the decimating abyss demonic dragon alone. He's definitely going to die. Lin Dai scolded coldly. She wasn't speaking up for Jiang Tian out of kindness, but she was worried that the divine sects and sacred grounds would vent their anger on the Lin family. That's true. This is what he deserves. Li Yichen smiled embarrassedly, but killing intent was surging in his heart. This little girl had a deep grudge against him. He had to find a suitable opportunity to kill her later. Otherwise, who knew how she would frame him? Noisy. How do you know how many half-saints like you I've killed? It can be said that I've killed countless of them. Today, I'll show you what Jiang Xiqing, can do. Jiang Tian let out a wild roar. He stepped on the void with big steps and approached the decimating abyss demonic dragon. With every step, law patterns would appear, causing heaven and earth to shake. Waves of ocean-like aura surged into the sky. Jiang Tian's arrogance was incomparably vigorous as it swept across heaven and earth, cleansing the demonic qi and scattering the demonic qi. Does this kid really have the strength to fight the decimating abyss? Nangong Yu's face revealed a strange expression as he exclaimed softly. No way, he's so strong? The Duke of Eastern Canyon, who was covered in blood and frightened, had a strange look in his eyes. Because not only them, but many cultivators, including Fairy Qingjue, also felt their minds relaxed, and that suffocating feeling suddenly disappeared. Everyone couldn't help but be shocked and look at each other. Jiang Tian walked faster and faster. A 10-meter-long divine disc appeared behind him. Chaotic qi lingered and filled the surroundings. In the end, it actually turned into a dazzling wheel of light that stretched across the sky and cut through the sky. It was like the chariot of a god that crushed the heavens as it charged toward the abyssal demon dragon. Jiang Xiqing has attacked. Sigh. Although her courage is commendable, she's still an ant trying to shake a tree. 1,500 miles away, the leaders of the divine sects and sacred grounds saw this scene through the 1,000-mile mirror, water-moon mirror, and other Dharma artifacts floating in front of them. Their reactions were different. Some of them had their hearts in their mouths, some sighed, some shook their heads and sighed, and some mocked with disdain. In fact, the immortal wills of the soul formation cultivators could reach 1,000 miles away, but the decimating abyss demonic dragon's soul energy was too powerful, so they used observation Dharma artifacts to observe the battle. They knew about Jiang Tian's achievements, so they certainly knew that Jiang Tian was very powerful. He was only a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator, but he was able to kill so many soul formation cultivators. He was definitely talented and had an extraordinary foundation. The grade of his nascent soul was also very high, possibly even a deity-grade nascent soul. But after all, he was limited by his power and was still far from being able to kill the decimating abyss demonic dragon. You're like a frog at the bottom of a well. How ridiculous! Li Yichen grunted in disdain. He had experienced too much killing and strife in the cultivation world. What he pursued was the principle that a bad life was better than a good death. Jiang Tian's performance, in his eyes, was nothing but the bravery of an ignorant man. His death was not worth regretting. No matter how arrogant he is, it's still much better than you peeing your pants. Lin Dyer mocked. She hated Jiang Tian. But in her opinion, Li Yichen was even more annoying than Jiang Tian. You're indeed a monster who can kill a soul formation cultivator at the nascent soul level. You have some skills. A human-like smile appeared on the decimating abyss demonic dragon's giant face. It complimented, but it didn't show any mercy. Clang. It swung its dragon claw, but it suddenly elongated and turned into a terrifying blade about 3,000 feet long. Dragon-slaying blade. The blade was extremely heavy, as if it were made of supreme gold. It was emitting a bright metallic light and there were dragon patterns all over it, letting out dragon roars and blade sounds. Under the slash, the terrifying energy of the dragon race suddenly burst out, sweeping the world like a tsunami and spreading in all directions. Many cultivators had already retreated 1,000 miles away. Those with weaker levels were directly knocked away by the energy. Even some mid-stage and peak-stage soul formation grand cultivators were frightened and felt extremely uncomfortable. Chapter 1928. The True Dragon Clan has endless transformations and a variety of attacks. It is said that there are 81 transformations. Now, seeing his dragon claw turn into the dragon-slaying blade, I know that the ancient records are true. An elder of the Luoying sect said in shock. It's too terrifying. This blade is enough to make the sun and moon fall, the earth sink, and the mountains and rivers shatter. An elder of the Tianluo sect said in fear. Sigh, no wonder the ancient demon race's mighty figure, Qin Pei, spent hundreds of years to set up countless divine formations to trap him. Fairy Qingjue's deep and beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She did not know if Jiang Tian could withstand it. Sigh. Little worm, I've overestimated you. Facing this world-shaking saber strike, passing me, Jiang Tian directly used his fist to face the saber. Without saying anything, he punched out. The 3-foot divine disc behind him spun, and the chaotic 9 orifices nascent soul roared in his body. Seeing this, Li Yichen mocked softly. The True Dragon Clan is an ancient divine beast. They are known for their powerful physical bodies, and they can suppress thousands of demons in the starry sky. Does he still want to compete with his physical body? Sigh, Taoist Jiang is still lacking in battle experience. He should use his strength to attack his opponent's weakness. He should use his divine abilities and spells. The elder of the Luoying sect sighed. This is the disadvantage of the cultivators from the outer river. They have too few experts, and many of them have not experienced cruel battles. That's right. An elder of the Tianluo sect also nodded. However, they did not plan to attack. Even Fairy Qingjue wanted to attack, but she was stopped by Elder Nangongyu. The person from the ancient medicine hall who came to watch the battle was Elder Gu of the Icebound City branch. His sleeves fluttered in the wind, and his hair and beard were all white. He had the demeanor of a transcendent being. Even among the powerful elders of the various divine sects, he was a core member. Regardless of his cultivation, the ancient medicine hall was one of the top sacred grounds of the divine sect in the Saint Origin world. Moreover, he was an elder of the Ice-Sealed City branch. He was both a teacher and a friend to Gu Xian. His position was very high. Even the sect masters of ordinary divine sects had to be respectful to him. Seeing this, Elder Gu suddenly stepped into the air. Withstanding the rolling demonic chi and the monstrous dragon force, he approached the scene and shouted at the same time, "Fellow cultivators, I'm willing to give a supreme-grade divine pill to whoever is willing to help this young friend Jiang with this old man." Elder Gu knew Jiang Tian's value the best. The heavenly mending pill that Jiang Tian sold before was priceless. Moreover, Jiang Tian's attainments in pill formulas were absolutely not inferior to his. This caused him to have a feeling of regret towards Jiang Tian, and he had already regarded Jiang Tian as a friend despite the difference in age. At this moment, seeing that Jiang Tian was in danger, how could he just stand by and watch? What? Jiang Xiqing, this slave, is worth Elder Gu sacrificing more than one supreme-grade divine pill just to save her? Lin Dyer and Li Chen were stunned and couldn't believe it. The so-called supreme-grade divine pill was a pill that could help soul formation grand cultivators to advance. This kind of pill was extremely rare. Not only did it require heavenly materials and earthly treasures, but it also had to be refined by alchemy deities or alchemy sages. It usually took hundreds of years of hard work. One supreme-grade divine pill was priceless. Elder Gu, cultivators don't joke. I'm taking it seriously. The first one to step out was Nangongyu. Kill! Without Nangongyu's obstruction, Fairy Qingjue also shouted and rushed into the sky. The ancient medicine hall has always kept its promises. Elder Gu is a man of his word. Why would he joke? Some old soul formation grand cultivators who seemed to be on the verge of death also turned into streaks of light and followed them without hesitation. To deity transformation realm cultivators, their lifespans were a few thousand years old. They could either control a great sect or rule over a vast territory. Whether it was glory, splendor, wealth, or monstrous authority, it was already a thing of the past to them, and it wasn't something they wanted to pursue. The only thing they wanted to pursue was to go one step further and become a sage. Especially for these soul formation grand cultivators who were about to die, if they could reach the sky in one step and become a sage, their lifespan would be doubled. Since they were already buried up to their necks, they naturally had to give it a try. Let's go. Even if we don't fight, will the decimating abyss let us go? Even those soul formation grand cultivators in their prime gritted their teeth and flew over helplessly, determinedly, or greedily under the temptation of such great benefits. However, the moment they flew out, Jiang Tian's fist also collided with the dragon-slaying mystic saber. Bang! This loud sound was like a meteor hitting the ground. It was shocking and spread for 100,000 miles. The vast earth shook violently. The dragon-slaying mystic saber shattered in an instant. The broken pieces flew everywhere and smashed into the ground, creating many deep holes. Dragon blood splashed all over the sky. The dragon blood contained terrifying fiend qi, which instantly corroded the dimension and melted the laws. After the decimating abyss demonic dragon's roar, the dragon-slaying mystic saber quickly turned back into its original form of a dragon claw, but the dragon claw was already badly mutilated and countless scales fell off. Its mountain-like body was actually pushed back 10 miles. The power of a punch is so terrifying. Seeing this scene, the leaders of the sacred grounds and divine sects couldn't believe it. They all stopped and gasped. His body is so powerful. Fairy Qingjue's eyes widened as if she had seen a ghost. Oh my God, he can even destroy the claw of the decimating abyss. Lin Dai, An Lichen even screamed. But Jiang Tian thought it was reasonable. Whether it was the cultivation of the nascent soul stage or the level of the nascent soul stage, he had reached the limit. In terms of body, his chaotic divine body was perfect and flawless. Right now, he was like a Khanate god when he was young. His body was unimaginably strong. He could destroy a continent with one palm and shatter a planet with one finger. Even a saint would be slightly inferior to him in terms of physical strength. You bastard, you've successfully infuriated me. The decimating abyss demonic dragon swung its dragon claw. Because of its special bloodline, it quickly recovered, but it still couldn't hold back its anger. After all, it was a famous ancient demonic dragon. It had never suffered such a great loss under the hands of a nascent soul cultivator. Kill! Before Jiang Tian could follow up with another attack, the decimating abyss demonic dragon had already opened its abyss-like giant mouth and spat out. There was no astral wind, no demonic qi, no thunder, no shattering of laws, and no collision of laws. Instead, bright stars fell one after another, as if the sky was filled with stars. I heard that in the ancient times, there were thousands of stars around the Saint Origin world, but they were all swallowed by the decimating abyss demonic dragon. Is this one of those stars? An old guy who was like a living fossil, with skin like a chicken and a head like a crane, couldn't help but tremble when he saw this scene. Rays of light shot out of his dim eyes. He was shocked. Chapter 1929. These stars quickly turned into sword energy that descended from the sky, piercing towards Jiang Tian. Looking up from the ground, one would only feel that the stars in the sky were falling like rain. It was extremely beautiful, but behind this beauty were countless murderous intents. Stars falling like rain and sword chi turning into dust. This is the supreme sword technique, sword chi of billions of stars. It said that the decimating abyss demonic dragon once severely injured Qin Pei, a half-saint from the ancient times. Nangong Yu stopped in fear and didn't dare to move forward. A star is a small world, and it's using the Tao and laws of this world to condense sword chi. This is too terrifying. Countless people exclaimed as if they had seen a demon. At this moment, even Jiang Tian's wild and unrestrained face trembled slightly, and his gaze revealed a slightly serious expression. Back then, ancestral patriarch Song Ming, the last trump card of the most powerful overlord in the ruins of immortality, had to expend all his power to launch the Spear of a World, which was a small star formed by Tao and laws. And now, the decimating abyss demonic dragon had summoned more than 1,000 worlds with a roar. Moreover, he had refined the Tao and laws of these worlds into Sword Tao, which was extremely sharp. This was more than one level higher than Song Ming's. It was at least 1,000 or 10,000 times more powerful than Song Ming's. In fact, Song Ming was also a half-step void return and could be called a half-saint. In terms of cultivation, he was on the same level as the decimating abyss demonic dragon. However, their strength was completely different, like the difference between clouds and mud. The key was that their ranks were different, so the Tao and laws they understood and controlled were different. At this moment, although many people were far away, they could clearly feel that sharp sword chi, as if the sky was about to be pierced and the earth was about to be split. Both their minds and bodies were extremely uncomfortable, as if a knife was scraping their bones and their bodies would be shattered in the next moment. Cultivator Jiang? What a pity! The decimating abyss demonic dragon is an overlord among saints. Even Elder Gu from the ancient medicine hall was frightened and didn't dare to move forward. He could only sigh. Realm was realm and power was power. Generally speaking, a star traveler who had the power of a world the size of Earth, or who could destroy Earth with one blow, could be called a divine transformation realm cultivator on this land. Being able to destroy a star system like the solar system before the spirit chi revival with a single palm was already considered a void return saint. At this moment, the strength that the abyssal demon dragon had displayed was more than just a single realm. No matter what his cultivation base was, the power he had displayed was undeniable, and he was able to suppress most return to void stage saints. Of course, he wasn't willing to sit by and watch Jiang Tian die. But now, he had no other choice. If he went to rescue Jiang Tian, he would only die. Some sacrifices were meaningful, but some were just sacrifices. They wanted to rescue Jiang Tian, not kill the demonic dragon. After all, that was too unrealistic. They had never intended to do so. Sigh. It's hopeless. Nangong Yu's eyes twitched as he sighed regretfully. No matter how strong he is, he's still just a nascent soul cultivator. Fairy Qingjue's eyes widened and her beautiful face was filled with sorrow. She didn't know why her heart ached. The deceased Jiang Tian was definitely the most talented nascent soul cultivator she had ever seen. His level was extremely high. She cherished talents and naturally wanted to recruit them. But the bad thing was that Jiang Tian was too reckless in his actions. Maybe he came from an extragalactic star system and didn't know the legends and dangers of the abyssal demon dragon. The abyssal demon dragon was a descendant of the true dragon and had been a half-saint for many years. Plus, it had been raised by the pantheon of demons for a long time and was strengthened by fiend chi and fiend arts. Its strength was not inferior to that of a void return saint. Jiang Tian had just shown everyone that his combat power was far beyond his level and that he could easily kill soul formation cultivators. He was almost the best among soul formation cultivators. However, the abyssal demon dragon was too famous and the strength it had just displayed was too terrifying. Plus, he had the true dragon bloodline, so she had no confidence in Jiang Tian at all. Lin Dai. Is this what you mean when you say that he is stronger than me? In your eyes, no matter how unbearable I am still alive. No matter how brave he is, won't he end up as the blood food of the abyssal demon dragon? Is this called ability? Is this called bravery? This is called the courage of an ignorant man, like a foolish woman in a village. This is called reckless. Li Yichen, who was prostrating on the ground, sneered and mocked, as if he was looking for an excuse for his cowardice. He also seemed to really look down on Jiang Tian's style of doing things. Alas, he has always been so arrogant and condescending. He deserves this. Lin Dai looked at the back of Jiang Tian, who seemed to be about to die under the sword chi of the Milky Way, and ignored Li Yichen's question. At this moment, she had mixed feelings. She felt lost and a little regretful. But when she thought of how Jiang Tian had just slapped her in public, she suddenly hardened her heart and only gloated and mocked. Everyone had different thoughts. However, everyone had the same thought, and that was that they, Jiang Tian, would definitely die. Little Taoist. Unexpectedly, the shock on Jiang Tian's face disappeared in a flash. The next moment, it was replaced by arrogance and wildness. Before his voice died away, he held up the sky with one hand. When this palm was held out, it kept growing and expanding. In an instant, it reached the size of 100 miles. Chaotic chi lingered on it, as if it could encompass heaven and earth and everything. Thousands of sharp sword chi fell on it, like rain falling on a calm lake. Although it stirred up ripples, it quickly calmed down and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Some of the sword chi of the Milky Way poured down from the edges of the giant palm and the gaps between the fingers, causing the earth to sink thousands of feet. The sword chi pierced the earth, and the intense friction caused the scorching heat to form magma, which quickly spread into lakes of fire. And Jiang Tian, under this sword chi, only a few strands of his hair were cut off, and there were traces of cuts on his clothes and the surface of his body. And his aura only decreased slightly, but did not suffer any essential damage. At first glance, this was not strange, and it was normal to look like this after the battle. However, when Elder Gu, Fairy Qingjue, and the others thought about it, there was already a storm in their hearts. He blocked the all-out attack of the Abyss demonic dragon, which was enough to destroy many planets, and he was still safe and sound. Oh my God! What kind of monstrous talent is this? Exclamations sounded one after another. Everyone was dumbfounded and could not believe it. There is such a person in the world. Fairy Qingjue's beautiful eyes widened, as if she was dreaming. He can cover the sky with one palm? What divine power and dharma spells are these? The corners of Elder Nangong Yu's eyes almost cracked as he asked in shock. This is not a divine power or dharma spell. This is an immortal spell or an immortal divine spell. It definitely does not belong to our world. Elder Gu's lips trembled as he said in disbelief. A strong impulse suddenly appeared in his heart. He must pull Jiang Tian to his side. It would be best if he could become Gu Xian's cultivation partner. After all, he did not have much time left. If he died one day, who would protect Gu Xian? And Jiang Tian was not only proficient in the art of alchemy, but also at the level of a pill deity or even a pill saint. Most importantly, his strength and talent were strong enough. In addition, he had a clean background and had nothing to do with the forces of Saint Origin World. He was undoubtedly the best candidate. It could be said that there had not been a young man as talented as Jiang Tian in the past 1,000 years. Immortal spell? Divine spell? Everyone was stunned at first, and then their expressions changed drastically. They all looked at Jiang Tian with burning eyes as if they were looking at a rare treasure. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.